This is not straight.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Is that
Yeah.
lined up okay for now?
It looks pretty good. Yeah.
All right.
For you. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So I'm seeing it in YouTube stream here. I just want to make sure it's live. Okay. 'Cause exactly. So it says live stream health. That's there. So there's not another go live button or anything, right? It's already there. Okay. Oh, okay. Yep, you got it. So,
Yeah, I did that about a minute ago
yeah.
or 45 seconds ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's a pet peeve of Shannon's. Head in the middle.
Yes. Now, if I stretch the width, does that? Okay, there we go. I'm going to go ahead and fill the screen in OBS. There. Yeah. About a minute, maybe. Yeah. Hopefully that looks all right. And then we'll just adjust it when we have a guest. We'll pull it a little more to the right. No.
All right.
Okay, you ready for this? Do you need anything? Some more water?
I'm good for now.
Okay. Oh, yeah, because okay. Yeah, it should be that way because the return is only going into my headphone mixer, not anything else. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's true. If you take calls, it won't.
What won't?
They won't go on the stream because of the way I have it separated out. So you're not getting station return on the stream.
So someone listening on the stream wouldn't hear my caller?
Yeah, yeah.
No.
I can switch that. Um, uh,
Is it easy to
Yeah.
fix? I mean, we might not
Yeah.
take callers, but if
Yeah.
we do,
If we do, yeah. Let me see. Oh, I see. Yeah. Um, yeah.
this camera's still not quite straight. That's straighter. Okay, I think that's a little better. You need me to tilt the camera at all?
There we go. All right. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. There we go.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, that should look
nap.
better there. Cool.
What do you think about that camera angle, Shannon? Like I noticed that Limbaugh's camera is always is off to the side. It's never straight in front of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, it's not like he's not ever looking into the camera the way I am. I don't know what's better. I don't know. I have no freaking idea. I should ask Bo Snerdley what their thinking was. What was with that delay?
What was that? Oh, okay,
Oh, I
okay.
see. Yeah, so we don't have to stream the whole show. I mean, I don't care. You can stream whatever you want to stream, but we will need standalone individual videos for each of the. Well, we won't be streaming anyway because it'll be after the show. But
Right,
when
yeah.
when we do the governor interviews,
Okay, those will be recorded for playback later.
yes. But I
Yeah,
also
yeah.
want to stream them live at the time.
Oh, at the time. Okay.
Yeah,
All right,
and
all right,
then
yeah.
we can share the YouTube links with the governor's offices, and they can try to
Okay.
share them on social media.
Okay. All right.
And we'll send out the audio. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that. And then so Shannon, if you're dealing with the audio, I guess we're still going to figure out who's going to edit what audio, but if you look in that Google sheet with the WGA interview schedule, there's two of them, the first two, where over to the right side on the sheet you'll see iHeart email addresses. Those are iHeart stations in those areas. So for the North Dakota guy, send the audio to that Todd Mitchell at iHeart. And for Hawaii, send the audio to this other iHeart guy. That you'll see on the Google sheet that says WGA interview schedule is the title of the sheet. You with me? All right. Did you understand any of that? So when you go over to John Elway's website, elwaydealers.com, one of the cool things that you can find is you click where it says pre-owned vehicles and then search inventory. And one of the things I want to make sure everyone knows is that the used inventory at the Elway Dealers is, first of all, it's enormous. Second of all, it includes all kinds of brands that go beyond just the regular brands that John Elway sells as new vehicles, right? The Chevy and the Cadillac and the Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram. So there's all kinds of other stuff, right? There's imports, there's Ford, there's everything in the used vehicles. And some of these, I'm looking at them right now. I mean, there's a 2019 Dodge Ram 1500. There's a whole bunch of 2019s that are listed in the used vehicle part. And one of them I was looking at had only like 1,000 miles on it. You can get incredible pricing on a vehicle that is darn close to new or has more miles, but all of the Elway used vehicles come with great either inspected and protected warranties or certified warranty, which is 6 years, 100,000 miles, and transferable for free if you sell the vehicle. I want you to learn more at elwaydealers.com. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Ross. I am broadcasting live from Vail, Colorado at the Western Governors Association annual meeting. And over the course of today and tomorrow, we are going to have a lot of really interesting guests. I am expecting the Secretary of the Interior to join us today, and we don't know who else will stop by. I expect a lot of governors tomorrow. As far as I know, I'm the only Colorado radio station and maybe one of the only radio stations from anywhere broadcasting from this event, so that's pretty cool. And we will definitely have Jared joining us tomorrow morning, so that's going to be just great. It's beautiful up here, I have to say. If you have to work somewhere, it might as well be in Vail. I can't complain, although can I just tell you, I think you all know this already, but it's really dry up here. I mean, Denver's dry enough, but it's really dry up here. So I wake up this morning and, sitting here at the table in the hotel that we're at getting ready for this show. I was like, wow, I need to drink about a gallon of liquid. And so I've been drinking, what is this stuff I'm drinking anyway? Lipton Diet Green Tea Citrus flavor. It's not the best drink in the world, but it's not the worst. Anyway, what'd you say, Shannon? Yeah, I know. In fact, I should probably ask the hotel to put a humidifier in my room for tonight because I bet they've got one. Most of the hotels up here actually do. Anyway, we've got a tremendous show. We've got a lot to do. You may hear a little background noise. I actually hope you do over the course of the show when people start waking up and making their way through for this event. And the Western Governors Association is, well, it's exactly what it sounds like, right? It is governors from the western half of the United States. There's a lot of them. I think there's actually 11 new Western governors, right? The way Jared Polis is a new Western governor. And Western governors, by the way, goes out pretty far west, like I'm talking Guam and the Northern Marianas Islands. And I am trying, I haven't arranged it yet, but I am trying to get an interview with the governor of Guam, partly because I lived on Guam for 3 years when I was a kid. So I'm going to try to make that happen. But so we'll see. It's going to be great. It's a not nonpartisan. It's a bipartisan event. So my guests who will be coming through, I've got both Republicans and Democrats. And it's going to be a very interesting thing to see. There's a lot of stuff that the Western governors do as a group, trying to coordinate on issues that matter to many of them. And usually the chairman has a particular issue that he really wants to focus on during his time as chairman. So one of the governors that I expect we're going to speak with is David Ige of Hawaii, who will be the outgoing chairman. This will be his last meeting as chairman. And his big issue is invasive species. And, of course, we've got that in Colorado, too. So there's going to be a lot of that. And then the incoming governor is Governor Burgum of North Dakota, and he's got his own issues that he cares about a lot, so including rural broadband, and these are all things that actually impact Colorado. So we have a lot to talk about. All right, let me go back, if I might, to Friday's news, and even before Friday where we actually got the news about this deal with Mexico. You may have noticed, those of you who listen to me a lot, that compared to most economic issues and what I call political economy, right, the intersection of politics and economics, compared to most of those issues, I didn't actually talk about the threat of tariffs on Mexico all that much, especially compared to how much the rest of the media was talking about it. And there was a reason for that. Oh, and before I tell you the reason, are we going live? Are we out live right now? So if you go to youtube.com and type in my name, and if you don't know my name, then I don't know what you're doing here, but my name is Ross Kaminsky with a Y on the end. Type in my name, and then you'll see my YouTube channel, and you should see us streaming live right now. So you can, watch and listen if you want. I should also tell you that given the way I'm doing everything today, text is a really good way to keep in touch with me today at 57739, and just make sure you include the word Ross in the text, and you can email me at ross@khow.com. And are we on Facebook Live as well at the same time, or just YouTube? Okay, so just go to YouTube and find the Ross Kaminsky channel, and you can watch me. Okay, so I didn't talk about the Mexico tariff thing a lot, and there were a couple reasons for that. First, I thought that it was better than 50-50 that there would be a deal reached and tariffs would not be imposed. So I didn't want to spend a lot of time talking about the economic harm from something that I didn't think was going to happen, even though the potential economic harm could be very large, right? And again, I'm not going to dwell on it right now because at least for now there's a deal, but the bottom line is if those tariffs did go into place, and Trump did say on Twitter last night that he kind of reserves the right to go back to what he called very profitable tariffs. I don't know what that means. I don't know if he's really that out of touch or if he just thinks we are. But anyway, he said, we could go back to very profitable tariffs if Mexicans don't do what he wants them to do regarding the border and stemming the flow of illegal immigrants and all that kind of thing. So if that stuff went into place at that 25% level, that top level that President Trump said he'd be willing to get to, that would represent the largest tax increase on Americans in the history of the United States of America. Seriously, that's how big and how bad that would be. But I didn't spend much time on it because I thought there would be a deal. Why did I think that there would be a deal? We've talked about this a lot on the show, the idea of game theory, and that I've said lots of times that President Trump basically only knows how to play one game, and that is the game of chicken. And his opponent wants something, he wants something, and he just starts driving at him as fast as possible, and then they see who swerves, if anybody swerves, and all that. And you don't need me to explain the mindset behind the game of chicken and whether you decide to swerve or not, and all that can go into that, right? You know, do you think the other guy will swerve, and how badly do you think you'll get hurt if you don't swerve, and that kind of thing. Now, my thought on this particular game of chicken, which, by the way, is a very, very different version of the game than the version Trump is playing with China right now, which is also a game of chicken, but it's slower, and it's kind of like both literally and metaphorically, we started so much further away from China, even in the sense of geography, which actually has something to do with it, right? With Mexico, imagine a game of chicken where the cars are starting so close to each other that you've got, once you get to speed, you've got a very short amount of time before there's going to be a big crash if nobody swerves. So that's the game of chicken that we're in. And my thought was that for very different reasons, both sides knew that they had to swerve. Now, Trump probably didn't know that when he first said, well, let's put tariffs on Mexico, because he does like tariffs, and so far it hasn't blown up on him. But I think he probably was made to understand very quickly that tariffs on goods coming in from Mexico are a whole different kettle of fish than tariffs with China, because there's so much supply chain involved, because it's right here, because a lot of it involves the auto industry, which is a key part of Trump's political base and also a key part of Trump's kind of marketing base. And think about, and it always is, right? The auto industry is a big visible thing in the United States that any politician who can talk about it wants to talk about it. For example, you may recall that that Team Obama, spent a lot of time talking about how Detroit is alive and Osama bin Laden is dead, right? They always want to tie themselves to the car industry because it seems like this big patriotic American thing. So the tariffs from Mexico, goods coming in from Mexico, we get an enormous number of auto parts from Mexico, and a lot of those are from factories that are owned or partially owned by the American auto companies as well. So that kind of stuff would massively disrupt the supply chain on one of the key American industries. So I think President Trump I think enough people told him this could really blow up on you. So let's go back to the game of chicken for a second. So here's how I pictured this game of chicken. Imagine two vehicles that are starting to drive at each other. And one of them is a small vehicle, a Chevy Impala, okay? And that's what the Mexicans are driving. They're driving the Chevy Impala. And President Trump is driving a gigantic nitro-fueled monster truck, okay? And these two things are driving at each other. So why do I think in that analogy, as your founder and still president of the Bad Analogy Club, why do I think that both sides felt like they would have had to swerve? And I think you understand why I'm saying the U.S. is driving a much bigger vehicle than the Mexicans when it comes to kind of the economics of the situation and the leverage in the situation. Here's the idea. Here's how I thought of it. If nobody swerved and there was that head-on kind of tariff collision, Mexico, that smaller vehicle, would just get crushed. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. Okay, the American vehicle, it's not that it would get crushed, this giant nitro-fueled monster truck that President Trump is driving. It's that the American vehicle is full of all this fuel that while the vehicle itself might not be crushed, in that fire that would start when the vehicles hit each other, even though the Mexican vehicle would immediately be crushed, not too long after that, and again, you got to stick with me because I'm really proud of how bad this analogy is, the fuel in that American vehicle would explode. And the American economy and President Trump's chances of re-election would go up with it. And so both sides knew they needed to swerve. And that's why I thought a deal would get done. For, again, very different reasons. The Mexicans needed to make a deal, and the Americans needed there to be a deal, even if Trump would never admit that. In fact, the Mexicans didn't really admit it either. They both had to. Now, let me talk about another part. I really, really struggle with this. And a lot of the online conversations, social media conversations, Twitter, stuff like that, you get the Trump haters, the Trump lovers. There aren't that many people really in the middle in social media where a lot of this conversation takes place. And there aren't really a lot of people in the middle just in regular TV. You put on Fox News, and they're mostly the people who just want to cheerlead everything that President Trump does and never blame him for anything he does that's stupid. And then you put on CNN and MSNBC and all of the broadcast networks, the Sunday shows and all that, they pretty much want to criticize Trump for absolutely everything and never give him credit for anything he does that works. And I find all of that really frustrating because I find myself kind of in the middle of it in a lot of ways. And I really struggle with this myself because on the one hand, tariffs on goods coming from Mexico is probably Donald Trump's single worst idea when it comes to economics. If it actually went into place, it would blow up our economy, and it would, I think there's a very strong chance it would mean that he would not get reelected. But it worked as a negotiating strategy. So how do you think about that? I mean, there's an interesting piece by Hugh Hewitt in the Washington Post, and the headline is, Trump's big win leaves critics sputtering. And I think that's really true. A lot of people who just can't give Trump credit for anything won't, at least unless they absolutely have to. There was another Washington Post piece, and this is really a news piece, not an opinion piece, although in the Washington Post it's often hard to tell the difference. Trump defends deal with Mexico that critics say will do little to curb migrant crisis. Again, that's the way that the Washington Post wants to put it, right? That is that the deal won't even do anything. And the New York Times put out a piece, too, that President Trump pushed back on hard, saying the deal doesn't really involve Mexico doing anything that they didn't already say that they're going to do, which is not entirely true. The deal gets Mexico to do more than they said they were going to do and do it faster than they said they were going to do it. So the New York Times is lying. On the other hand, to the extent that the Trump administration says it's all new, that's not really true either. But that's the game we're playing these days. Let me get back to this point, though. I really struggle with how to think of this, okay? President Trump made a threat, maybe as a negotiating tactic, maybe not. We know he really likes tariffs. Maybe in his own mind, he would have been happy that tariffs went into place. I don't really know. I just really struggle with whether to think he deserves praise or criticism or both, in the sense that the underlying idea, tariffs on Mexican goods, is his worst idea ever, but it worked. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. You know, I will say two last quick things on this. His strategy is starting to feel, well, more than starting, but this really kind of cemented it to me. His strategy is becoming very predictable. And that's not a criticism in its own right, but it can hurt him going forward in other negotiations with other countries. they're going to guess how he's going to play it, and they'll probably be right because he's doing the same thing over and over. And one analogy that other people have made that I think is a pretty good one is he's the arsonist and the fireman, right? So he starts the fire, and then he comes and puts it out and claims to be a hero because he put out the fire that he started. And going forward, I think there are going to be countries that are going to say, well, this is what Trump's going to do. Maybe he'll threaten us with tariffs. So they'll be ready in advance what to do if Trump threatens tariffs. And it's not going to work as well in the future as it has in the past. And in fact, we don't even know that it's worked that well in the past. It worked well with Mexico, where there's a massive imbalance of power. But with China, it hasn't really worked, at least not so far. And it's too early to say what's going to happen with Europe. So the whole thing is just, it's complicated. It's interesting. We live in interesting times, and we'll have to see what happens next. I'll tell you what I want to do in the next segment of the show. A liberal college goes too far in buying into lies about racism and racial profiling, and a court makes them pay.
It's got DMD windows. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Can you feed this?
The other.
Oh,
and
really?
Spence is. No, I don't know.
It could be. All right, let me tweet this out too. In fact, let me see if I can. Am I muted right now, or am I saying hello to people?
Yeah, you're back online now. I turned you back up. So.
Okay. Well, hello, whoever's listening to the stream. We're in Vail. I'm not going to say exactly what hotel we're at, I guess, but they just brought a bomb-sniffing dog through, an explosive-sniffing dog. I've actually seen that dude before. I just don't remember where. There must have been some event. I don't remember where. I think the dude and the dog. I think maybe Western Conservative Summit when they had, a senator or two come through. I think that is where I saw him. Who produced that last? Who was there with me?
Oh, that would have been. It wasn't me.
You were there with me. Do you remember seeing the dude with the dog? The dude, and we talked to him a little bit. That was the same dude and the same dog. All right, I can tweet this out. I found the right link. Whatever it is, order a gift for somebody graduating from high school or college. I think most of that's done, but maybe you don't have a gift yet, or I'll throw one more out at you. Father's Day. Whatever it is you need, I hope you will think about Littleton Jewelry because they have gifts for everybody, including if you're watching on the live stream right now, and you should go to youtube.com and just type in Ross Kaminski and you'll find the live stream. But you can see right there on my ring finger this beautiful ring from Littleton Jewelry. It's a black ceramic band with carbon fiber inlay. It's gorgeous. It was only about $200, maybe just slightly over. Littleton Jewelry has all of it for you. Learn more at littletonfinejewelry.com.
It's Monday, June 10th. Here are the new podcasts today on the iHeart.
Hey, in that they can't hear the station, I think it's great on YouTube that they're just hearing you because then we don't have any sort of copyright conflict with me playing bumper music.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Yeah, I just switched it though now, so they should be getting station return. So.
Oh, you fixed it already?
Yes, I fixed it.
That was fast.
Yeah.
I'll watch what I'm saying.
All right.
For you today inside the iHeartRadio app.
Yeah, so it will pick you up as well, Shannon. So all the chatter back and forth goes over the stream. So maybe I should stop streaming during the breaks.
I'll watch it.
Okay.
To investigate the
Now the
Anything like, hey Ross, they can hardly tell those are hair plugs.
So oh my gosh. So right now they anybody who's watching the stream can hear all the stuff we're saying to each other.
yes.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah.
Are we up right now? Can they hear all this?
They should be able to.
Well, good
yeah.
morning, everyone. It's 6:30, and this is what it sounds like. It's actually kind of fun. I should, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell people on the air too when we're back on that they can hear the way it really works behind the scenes.
Right. Yeah, because sometimes that's the best part.
So would they hear like when Shannon says you're up, or whatever my next commercial
They'll
is?
hear everything
They'll
you're
hear
hearing in
everything.
your headphones.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
all available resources to aid in his recovery. Fox's Griff Jenkins.
I love it.
This
And we're getting comments.
Tell me what any of the
Hey,
comments are.
L&L. Here you go. 10 away to L&L. Sorry, I didn't put it on the screen yet.
That's all right.
Mornings. Tom Martino next at 10. KHO
You're up.
Denver.
Okay, L&L Heating and Air Conditioning so far has not changed their minds. I've told them this deal is too good, and they said, don't worry about it, man. Just keep telling your listeners because we love doing this deal. It is a Nest Learning thermostat, which same thermostat I have at my home, including installation for $297, and on top of that, they will give you a full AC tune-up and cleaning. So just to put that in perspective, right? People often will go look at Amazon for low prices on stuff, and when you're buying devices that can be installed, that need to be installed, you can buy the installation on Amazon too. So if you were to go to Amazon and buy this Nest thermostat and installation, it would be $360 last time I checked. L&L, so you get to support a local family-owned business, $297, so more than $60 cheaper than Amazon and you get a full AC tune-up and cleaning that's worth quite a bit of money as well. It is a ridiculous deal. I hope you will take advantage of it. You really should if you do not already have one of these learning thermostats because they save you money all the time. I want you to learn more at bestdenverhvac.com.
Need a new round? Go with a sure thing. excelroofing.com.
This forecast from the Denver Trial Lawyers Weather Center.
Sunny and warmer today with the high in the upper 70s. Mostly clear tonight with the low in the low 50s. Mostly sunny again tomorrow with the high back in the upper 70s.
So if I were to stream
Sponsored
on
by
Facebook
Farmers
Live,
Insurance.
that would be the KHOW Facebook. Is that correct? Or do you have your own?
And you obviously have to switch away from YouTube because it won't do both.
It won't do both. Okay.
Beetle.
I don't see comments. Where are you seeing comments?
I saw them on YouTube. Somebody said awesome.
Really?
Yeah.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and
Huh.
affiliates. Products not available in every
All
state.
right.
We've got
Now,
9 people watching
the
now.
Ross Report on Denver's talk station, 630 KHOW.
Until a few days ago, 70-year-old real estate tycoon and attorney Hugh Culverhouse Jr. was the largest donor in the history of the University of Alabama. His name was on
Was
the
that
law
you
school
that
there,
texted
just
me?
as his father's name is on the business
At
school.
57739,
His dad used to own the
Shannon?
Tampa Bay-
No. Why? Is there a funny one?
Well, I just got a text that says, Ross, you're such a drama queen. And I don't know what I was that dramatic about. But okay. Thank you.
Normally, that sort of comment comes from Spence.
I
Even though the law will
I
likely be
texted
found
back, thank you very
unconstitutional
little.
almost immediately and therefore never enforced. Culverhouse said, quote, I cannot stand by silently and allow my name to be associated with a state educational system that teaches students law that clearly
What's
conflicts
our
with
next,
the United States Constitution and federal law, and which
You can just put the next spots where you put those
Yeah,
last
Pam
ones.
Finn
That
will
was
be
good.
coming up. I'll write it.
All right.
diversity take a strong conservative stand on an issue, at least not lately, although I think that Culverhouse's description of the law is mostly correct. The weirdest thing to me, though, is that while his dad went to Bama, he didn't. He went to Florida. So I bet you that there are some University of Florida trustees trying to round up a huge donation right about now. And that's today's Ross Report, brought to you by the John Elway Group of Dealerships, where the non-commissioned sales teams never forget that for most people...
Were you talking about Alabama University there?
Yeah.
After buying her new Cadillac at John Elway Cadillac, Christina said, quote, everyone has been very professional and helpful. I had to take a deep breath to sign the paperwork because it's been 16 years since I bought a new car. The Cadillac has been fun to drive and the technology improvements are impressive. Love the new car feel. Well, at John Elway, you'll love your new car feel and the experience of buying it. Check out all the inventory and specials at elwaydealers.com.
Keep it on KHOW to keep up with what matters. Ross Kaminsky now, Martino at 10 on Denver's talk station, 630 KHOW.
You're up.
Very nice. That is kind of a crazy story, that Ross Report story. You know, this guy gave $26.5 million to Alabama, and then they gave it back to him. But the funniest part to me was when I read through that and found out that the guy who gave $26.5 million to Bama didn't go to Bama. His dad did, so I guess he's just continuing the tradition of his dad, whose name is on the business school there. But this guy, there's funny, I don't know, funny. There are pictures out there of workers at the law school, the big sign in front of the law school, taking his name off. And you know how, like, sometimes you'll see a store that goes out of business and you can see that spot on the top of the store where the sign used to be or the name used to be, and sometimes you can make out that it said Walmart or whatever. It was like that, taking his name off the law school at University of Alabama. But I don't know. I don't know. My dad and I went to the same college, so I don't know. But if I had an enormous amount of money, just because my dad was giving money to one college, I don't know that I'd give money to that college if I didn't go there and didn't otherwise have some great reason. That's weird. All right, and to whoever texted me to say, Ross, you are such a drama queen, I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to, but okay. If you could please text me with more detail, then maybe I will be able to respond to that. All right, I love this next story because I like seeing some pushback. I like seeing some pushback. In a way, actually, what you saw from the University of Alabama, no matter what you think of their of the abortion law that Alabama passed, the fact that the University of Alabama is kind of standing up for the state by saying that, well, you don't like what we're doing here, you can take your money and go, because, that guy was criticizing Alabama's new abortion law. We are starting to see in a couple of places a little pushback either by, although that's very rare, or against these outrageously politically correct colleges and universities. And there's a story that just brought a smile to my face and to my heart. So many of you probably know Oberlin College. Okay, Oberlin College, one of the most liberal colleges in America. It's Iowa, right? Oberlin's in Iowa, I think. So here's what happened. There's a bakery in the town in Oberlin, and this bakery has been around, I think, since the late 1800s. And a year and a half ago, approximately, there were a few young men from Oberlin College who went into this bakery, which is called Gibson Brothers, and tried to steal some things, including alcohol, and tried to shoplift some stuff, right? And so these boys, they're African American. They tried to steal from this bakery. Well, they did. They ran out. One of the family members who works in the bakery, it's Ohio? Yeah, okay. Is that right? Okay. I should know because I had a friend who went there. Yeah, Oberlin, Ohio. All right, brain cramp. You know what's the weirdest thing? That's one of the most leftist colleges in America, and Michelle Malkin went there. I don't know how she came out of that sane. Okay, but anyway, so this guy, Allen, Allyn, Gibson family owns the bakery, runs out of the bakery and gets into a confrontation with at least one. I think they were all still there, though. 3 black Oberlin College students who were shoplifting from his store. And they got into a fight. Apparently, when the police got there, these 3 black kids were, Mr. Gibson, and I don't know how old he is. I'm guessing he's in his 30s or something, because his grandfather is 90 years old. So he might be older. He might be 40 or 50. Was on the ground, and these kids were kicking him. Anyway, what happened was, this, as the story came out, these boys originally said it was racial profiling and BS, and they hadn't done anything wrong, and these white people were picking on them. And then an employee at Oberlin College, her name is Meredith Raimondo, who was, I think, an assistant dean of something, it doesn't matter what, started standing with protesters in front of the Gibson's bakery, handing out flyers, saying that this business has a long history of racial profiling and being racist and all this. And remember, this is a bakery that's been around in that town since the late 1800s, family-owned, right? So right now you got grandpa, you've got the dad, you've got the, grandpa, then the grandpa's son, then that guy's son. And they had to cut back on their employees because they lost a lot of business from all this. They went from a dozen employees, many of whom were full-time, to half a dozen employees, only one of whom was full-time. And the family's been working without any salary or any income for a while because what the college did, saying that it was racial profiling, did so much damage to their business. It ended up that the boys told the police and told the court that they were guilty of the crime and that none of it was racial profiling. And long story short, now, a court has awarded the Gibson family business and the members of the Gibson family who had their reputations destroyed by Oberlin College and by these students from Oberlin College, has awarded them $11 million. and that is before the punitive phase, which is supposed to start tomorrow, which could potentially triple the damages up to $33 million. So we will see. We will see. One of the things that Oberlin College's attorneys did that was pretty disgusting, and I'll just share with you a brief comment here from the website legalinsurrection.com from a lawyer who was commenting on this, is that they claimed that the entire business was only worth $35,000, and therefore that should be the maximum extent of their damages. And here's what this analyst said, and I really appreciated this. To say that the business was worth only $35,000 erases the lives of these people, right? The people who own and run the business and have for more than 100 years. Maybe it's just the plaintiff's lawyer and me coming out, but I'd cross-examine this defense expert and college president and show in closing argument the tuition, room, and board charges at Oberlin. This business, which has been an important feature of the community since 1885, is worth less than one semester at Oberlin College. I love that point. Anyway, so great to see Oberlin get slammed. I'm sure they'll appeal it, and I don't know that we'll have a final answer for a long time. But right now, one of the most leftist colleges in America tried to destroy the reputation of a family that has been in business in their town since 1885, and so far they're on the hook for $11 million, and I couldn't be happier about it. When we come back, should the next Democratic candidate for president be a straight white guy? And will it be? Check us out. We're live streaming on YouTube right now. Go to youtube.com. Type in Ross Kaminsky. You'll find us. We'll be right back.
It's the Nick and Kaplan Show. Afternoons 4 to 6.
Amfin in 15.
A not-so-manic Monday. We'll talk about whether President Trump's threat to hit Mexico with tariffs was brilliant and whether it will end up saving lives on both sides of the border and what should be done to fix
5 away, Amfin. You are up.
What would you do? Tell me at 4.
So with mortgage rates having dropped as much as they have in the past several months, there are now literally millions of American homeowners who can save money with a mortgage refinance. And that's even separate from whether you might be able to get out of mortgage insurance with a refinance. That could save you even more. So just by dropping your interest rate, the average American who could refinance and save money right now can save close to $300 a month. That's an incredible thing. So I want you to talk to one of the salary-based mortgage consultants at American Financing. Tell them your current situation, the mortgage you've got now, the rate you've got now, what you owe on it, all that, whether you've got mortgage insurance, and they'll go through some math with you to help you figure out exactly how much you can save. Also, maybe you can do some debt consolidation in the process and save you even more. So make today the day you call for a free mortgage review from American Financing. 303-695-7000 or AmericanFinancing.net.
NMLS.
You're down. Thank you.
Regulated by the Division of Real Estate.
Hi, this is Courtney Pierce, president of Buy and Build. We are closing our 4800 Washington Street location and opening the all-new Buy and Build kitchen and bath at our new location, 560 South Lipan Street, Denver, just south of Alameda on Lipan. Look for the giant orange and blue building. We will still have Denver's best deals on kitchen and bathroom cabinets, granite too, but now we offer installation as well. Now we can help you design and install your new cabinets and your granite countertops, all for much less than our competition. Come see us at 560 South Lipan Street in Denver or online at buyandbuild.net.
Is your garage door making weird noises? This is Dave Logan. If you're having issues with your garage door, call Don's Garage Doors, the only garage door company I personally endorse. I've used Don's Garage Doors in my home, and folks, you should too. Your garage is the entrance to your home, and you want somebody you can trust. Next time you need a garage door repair or replacement, call Don's Garage Doors at 303-738-DOOR. That's 303-738-3667 or online at donsgaragedoors.com.
I run my AC nonstop during the summer. Hello, I'm consumer advocate Tom Martino. Just can't sleep in a hot, stuffy bedroom. But I want to save money, so I found an alternative. A whole house fan called QC. Stands for Quiet Cool. So I'm having QC Colorado put one in my home. QCcolorado.com. Fresh air, cleaner air, great sleep, and no more big AC bills. Call QC Colorado right now. 720-398-4510. 720-398-4510.
How long till the next one, Shannon?
QCcolorado.com.
1 minute to everything.
Feeling, especially when it involves making or saving money. So pay attention, because you have a chance right now to do both. APO Financial is your source for Opportunity Zone investing and can show you how to get the benefits of real estate investing and eliminate the capital gains taxes with Opportunity Zones. If you haven't heard about Opportunity Zones, you're not alone. The federal government recently approved Opportunity Zones as a brand new way to incentivize investment in areas that have been designated for redevelopment. And to help spur private investment, the government structured OZs so they would eliminate capital gains taxes. So if you're interested in making an investment that helps rebuild communities, the government is ready to reward you with no taxes on your capital gains. Don't wait. You don't want to miss out. Learn how you can invest in Opportunity Zones right here in Colorado or anywhere across the country. Want to eliminate capital gains taxes on your stock?
10 away to everything.
Call APO Financial today at 720-585
and you're up.
Visit apofinancial.com.
So when you go over to Everything for Offices and check out their 38,000 square foot warehouse and showroom, it's near I-225 in Mississippi in Aurora. Not only are you going to find an unbelievable selection of new furniture, but you go kind of through the doors into the back area, you'll see an immense amount of pre-owned furniture and refurbished furniture. And I really want to point this out to you because a lot of businesses right now expanding, remodeling, doing all kinds of things. And some of the stuff, the prices that certain pieces of furniture cost, I frankly don't understand them. And a lot of times, especially some of these cubicle kind of things, you could be talking $1,500 each, $1,800. Right? You get over to Everything for Offices, and they've got a bunch right now, actually, of Herman Miller. Some with the low side, so your employees can see each other. Some with the high side, so there's a little more privacy. For $400, $600, $800, less than half price. I want you to check that out. And if you need new furniture as well, great prices and an immense amount of stuff in stock so that you can get things very quickly, unlike some of these larger stores, office fill in the blank, where they'll say, yeah, we can get you that. It'll take 8 weeks, but we'll get it for you. No, at Everything for Offices, they can get most of this stuff for you within just a few days. Learn more at everythingforoffices.com.
Ask Alexa.
Down, you good? Everything good?
iHeartRadio.
Yeah.
Then
sounding great.
Plan out to help you.
All right, I need to drink a little more of my
the
tea.
Troubleshooter. This morning at 10. If Denver's talking,
Here you go.
you'll hear it on 630 KHOW.
I know he was more Aspen, but you're up.
Well, good morning, everyone, on this beautiful Monday. At least it's beautiful where I am. I'm in Vail today, broadcasting from the Western Governors Association annual meeting. It's a very big group. Now, not all of the Western governors come to every meeting, but this group comprises governors through basically the western half of the United States and then Alaska, Hawaii, Samoa. Is that right, Joe? Samoa, Northern Marianas, and Guam. And we're going to have a lot of guests. In the next hour, we're going to have actually the Secretary of the Interior join me on the show, as well as Jim, who's the Executive Director of WGA. And we're going to get a bunch of governors as well. Most of them you'll probably hear tomorrow, but it's quite a privilege to be here. And we're going to bring you just a tremendous amount of information, interviews, and all kinds of great stuff. And like I said, if you got to work somewhere, you might as well work in Vail. All right, let me just take a minute here. It was interesting to see this piece in the Denver Post, actually, of all places. And that the headline, if I can get my computer working properly, is, and this it starts with a quote, "Are all the white guys running together in people's minds? Question mark. The unusual role identity is playing in the 2020 Democratic primary." And then they talk about John Hickenlooper and Michael Bennett grapple with the new challenge in a diverse field. So what are there, 23 Democrats running right now? I think that's right. And I think this kind of, not only is this an interesting article, it's an interesting article to see in the Denver Post because the guy who wrote it, actually, Nick Garcia, is a very liberal reporter. And so let me just share this with you a little bit. He starts off, hey, is that Michael Bennett or is that Eric Swalwell? Maybe it's John Hickenlooper. No, it's Tim Ryan. Tim Ryan's a congressman from Ohio, by the way. And Eric Swalwell is a really, really reprehensible congressman from California. And so it goes, says Nick, being one of the many white middle-aged straight men who are struggling to stand out in the most diverse Democratic presidential primary field in history. To some voters, this cadre of men all look sort of, well, the same. Nearly 24 people are running for the Democratic presidential nomination. Among them are 6 women, 5 people of color, and a gay man. Then there are a dozen straight white men. While former VP Joe Biden and U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders are sitting atop the crowded field, revealing stark divides among the party faithful on policy, the rest are polling in the low single digits if they register at all. And just in the interest of time, I'll move away from the article, but talk about this for a second. I think it's the Democrats have a real question on their hands, okay? So, first of all, keep in mind, Barack Obama became president of the United States not in spite of being black. Barack Obama became president of the United States because he was black. A white guy with his resume, which is to say the thinnest resume you could imagine seeing on a presidential candidate, would never have gotten the nomination. He got it because he was black, and lots of white folks wanted to vote for a black guy just to show, look what America is today. We can elect a black dude as president. And frankly, that's fine with me. Barack Obama was a terrible president. The mindset that put him in the presidency doesn't really bother me, okay? So, but the Democrats have to figure out what happens after that. I mean, Hillary Clinton lost, so, a woman lost. Barack Obama didn't end up particularly popular. Obamacare is his big achievement. It's getting more popular now, Obamacare is, but for a long time, very unpopular. So they need to figure out, the Democrats need to figure out whether they want to run an identity race and run either, a black person or a woman or maybe the gay guy, or whether they think just a straight white guy is the play. And here's the key, and here's what Democrats are trying to figure out. They think that Trump won on the strength of the industrial Midwest and winning these states, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan in particular, that people didn't think Trump could win. And so the Democrats are trying to decide whether to go with the identity thing to really boost it up in other places and get the activists activated, or whether they need to run a straight white guy to beat Trump in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Indiana. And I have no idea what the answer is, but I'm enjoying watching them struggle. We'll be right back.
This is Denver's
Thank you, you're down.
30 KHOW, an iHeart radio station. With Ross Kaminsky Mornings, Sean Hannity at 1.
All right, what's next?
Denver.
Amfin at the top of the hour. 10 minutes away.
Oh, okay. I don't have one here. All right. Cool.
I-70, each direction of I-70 ramp to Steel Vasquez. That Steel Vasquez ramp shut down. That's construction running late this morning, closed till at least 7 o'clock. That's causing some problems. Get around it, you could hop on Colorado Boulevard. 270 struggling there, real heavy traffic at a pair of crashes. Eastbound 270 at I-76, that's now in the shoulder. And an accident westbound 270 under York. An accident south on I-25 at 136th Avenue. Then the forecast, it's going to be sunny today with a high of 78. Tonight, low of 50 degrees. Tomorrow, sunny skies, but windy, upper 70s. Right now, it's 47. With traffic and weather, I'm Susan Feeling, 630 KHOW.
This month at Napa Auto Parts stores, get $25 or more off brand new DeWalt power tools by trading in your old ones. Quality parts, helpful people, that's Napa know-how at participating Napa Auto Parts stores. While supplies last, offer ends June 30th.
This is Dave Logan. You know, we all hope that we never need a personal injury lawyer. I know I do. But if you do, I would suggest you call Dan Kaplis. I've known Dan for more than 20 years. He's a smart, hardworking guy that you can trust. Dan Kaplis is the son of a police officer. He only takes on cases that he believes in, and then he's going to fight like crazy to win. Dan only takes on serious personal injury cases. You can reach Dan at 303-770-5551 or dankaplislaw.com. That's dankaplislaw.com.
Hey, look at this.
Why are you on your phone? We have dinner reservations.
I'm getting a quote for life insurance from Ethos. Just look.
Wow. You know, I thought it would be more expensive.
A friend told me about Ethos. It's a new, straightforward kind of term life insurance that offers policies for any budget. Let's do an estimate for you.
Do we have time?
You just answer 4 simple questions to get an instant quote.
These are easy questions.
questions.
And there's the instant quote.
Seriously? That was really fast.
I know, right? And the online application only takes about 10 minutes. No pushy agents. And in most cases, no medical exams. It's perfect for us.
Can we apply right now?
Why not? And after dinner, maybe we can celebrate.
You know what? Ethos is perfect for us.
Ethos is ethical term life insurance. Straightforward and super fast. Don't put it off. Go to ethoslife.com for a free instant quote now. ETHOSlife.com. That's ethoslife.com.
Frank Duran, the real estate man. Whether buying or selling, you can't do better.
We literally work to earn your business every single day. We do not hold you to a long-term contract.
You won't believe the level of service when you list your home.
We send in a cleaning crew and a virtual tour crew right off the top.
He has stats to prove he sells faster and for more money.
We not only sell your home faster and for more money, we back it up.
Frank Duran, the real estate man with RE/MAX Alliance. 303-920-1622.
Experience Denver like never before on an electric bike. Good Turn Cycles is now offering guided electric bike tours which explore Denver's historic buildings, parks, sports stadiums, and vibrant downtown neighborhoods. Feeling more adventurous? Try our electric mountain bike tour. Learn more and book online at goodturncycles.org/tours. That's goodturncycles.org/tours. Good Turn Cycles, Denver's premier nonprofit bike shop. That's how we roll.
Get up first thing, smoke a cigarette. Before lunch, after lunch. Now that I'm talking about it, I'm kind of feeling like I've lost about 4 hours of every day. I decided I needed to find an alternative. So I started looking, and then Juul came up. I did both for a while. Eventually, I just switched over, and it's very quick.
Mimi made the switch July 2015. Make the switch at JUUL.com. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
This forecast from the Denver Trial Lawyers Weather Center.
Sunny and warmer today with the high in the upper 70s. Mostly clear tonight with the low in the low 50s. Mostly sunny again tomorrow with the high back in the upper 70s.
Sponsored by Farmers Insurance.
We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, bum, bum.
At Farmers Insurance, we know every windshield collision has a unique sound. Beetle. Bird poop. Drone. Seen it, covered it. Talk to Farmers.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
Is this the precursor to impeachment? I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
The do-nothing Congress wants a do-over on the Mueller report.
Counselor to the President, Kellyanne Conway, before yet another hearing into the special counsel's investigation today. Fox's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
Dave, House Democrats will examine the Mueller report on Capitol Hill with former Nixon counsel John Dean on hand. Democratic Congressman David Cicilline told Fox News Sunday the House should not move forward with impeachment without the support of the American people.
The Speaker has said, and I agree with her completely, we should never proceed with impeachment for political reasons. We should never refuse to proceed with impeachment for political reasons.
The hearing comes as the House Rules Committee holds a markup session today on contempt resolutions for Attorney General William Barr and former White House counsel Don McGahn. Dave?
Rachel Conway also talked to Fox about the new deal with Mexico to help stop the surge of Central American migrants coming here.
Mexico took the president's tariff threat very seriously, and they're starting to take enforcement at their southern border seriously.
Now, Mexico's foreign minister has just said there is no specific target for reduction of migrant flows in this deal, but if a number comes down, it will show that these measures are working. The tariffs did not go into effect. New York Times reports that deal wasn't exactly new. It adds on to an agreement in the works for months. President Trump tweeted that is untrue, calling the report sick journalism and fraud. Former Boston Red Sox star David Ortiz is recovering the morning after he was shot and needed surgery.
He is a hero here in the Dominican Republic, and last night, just before 9 o'clock, about an hour and a half away in Santo Domingo, the capital, he was shot in a nightclub at close range in the back. His father, Leo Ortiz, telling reporters just hours ago that he is in stable condition. He is resting, and that, quote, Big Papi will be around for a long time.
Fox's Griff Jenkins says a new warning today from Iran that the U.S. cannot expect to stay safe until President Trump ends what the foreign minister calls an economic war he launched. This is Fox News.
All money managers might seem the same, but while some give their clients cookie-cutter portfolios, Fisher Investments tailors portfolios to your goals and needs. Some only call when they have something to sell. Fisher calls regularly, so you stay informed. And while some advisors are happy to earn commissions whether you do well or not, Fisher Investments fees are structured so we do better when you do better. In other words, we're on your side. Maybe that's why most of our clients come from other money managers.
Mike, are you there?
Or nearing retirement. Talk with us and find out why investors are switching to and staying with Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments. Clearly better money management. Investments in securities involve the risk of loss. Visit us at FisherInvestments.com to find out what we can do for you.
KHOW News Time, 7:03.
Colorado Democrats who want to unseat Republican Senator Cory Gardner are revealing more ahead of the 2020 race.
Dems held a vote yesterday in Denver's Barnum Park. Financial frontrunner Mike Johnston weighed in on efforts to get rid of the Electoral College. He says he supports the popular vote effort and believes it backs the idea of one person, one vote. That issue has drawn controversy, with Colorado lawmakers passing a bill that would put our state in line with others looking to get rid of the Electoral College. An effort is underway to send a possible repeal of that law to a vote of the people.
How we doing, man?
Education's
great. Got a couple minutes here.
Okay.
Actually, 90 away from alive, okay?
90 away?
And
Okay.
Is that Jim sitting down with you?
That is Jim.
Thank you.
The 20th anniversary luncheon for Parents
Okay,
Challenge
move
on
this out
June
of the way.
26th. The founder of the organization says he and DeVos have been friends for a long time. DeVos will speak on the issue of school choice at an invitation-only event. Sports, Colorado Rockies are at home tonight to play the Chicago Cubs. That's the latest. I'm Pat Woodard.
Message and data rates may apply.
60 away Amphin.
.com for terms and conditions.
And now for an important announcement. Do you, or does someone you know, sweat the bed? Do you ever wake up feeling like you've been sleeping on a slip and slide? Sweating the bed is a serious but common problem that affects your sleep, health, and happiness.
And is that
Plus,
that's
it's
your
just
title? Are you
plain
executive
gross.
director?
But it's not
Okay.
you. It's your mattress.
Excellent.
Fortunately, there is a cure. It's called Purple.
The volume
Purple
level
is the only
sound all right
mattress
too. It's
with
not
a
too
scientifically
loud. Okay, all right,
engineered
good.
Smart comfort grid. This patented technology is designed to let air flow freely.
Shannon,
so
you did
sleep
say
cool.
Amphin, right?
Side effects of sleeping on Purple includes,
Yes, sir. 20 away.
All right.
well, honestly, smelling better. Try the Purple mattress risk-free for 100 nights and never sweat the bed again. Now you can pick your own free product with mattress purchase by texting CRASH to 84888. Become a Purple VIP.
5 away.
About deals.
And you are up.
84888. That's CRASH to 84888.
So one of the things that happens when you get into this time of year is people are moving, right? So people are selling homes, but people are also moving into rentals. People are also moving into Colorado. And when you get into that time of the year, especially in a good market like Colorado, you will see that some of the usual perks or benefits or freebies or discounts that you might have thought you would get when you were renting, they go away. But you look at today's interest rates, 2.1 something % on the 10-year note, and the higher levels of inventory on homes for sale. And to me, it seems like a time that unless you have a compelling reason to rent, you should be thinking about owning a home. And I want you to talk to American Financing and just get a handle on what your mortgage situation would look like. There's no obligation. There's no commitment. Just give them a call. You have a free conversation with one of their salary-based mortgage consultants, and they'll help you understand what it would look like. It's possible that you could own a nice home for less than you'd be paying in rent, right? And I hope you'll talk to them about it, because the data is pretty clear that people who own homes end up in a much, much better financial situation later in life than people who rent for a long time. American Financing, 303-695-7000, or online at americanfinancing.net.
NMLS 1 down 4, regulated by the Division of Real Estate.
Your shot at a trip to our iHeartRadio Music Festival now. Text the nationwide keyword brand to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. That's brand to 200-200.
This is the Ross Kaminsky Show. Now, Ross.
Here you go. You are up.
On Denver's talk station, 630 KHOW.
All right, good morning, everybody. I'm Ross. I am broadcasting today and tomorrow from Vail, Colorado, from the annual meeting of the Western Governors Association. This is really exciting. Joining me, I was going to say in studio, but we're in a ballroom, a very small. This would be a ballroom for the smallest ball ever. But I won't name the hotel, but we're at a nice place in Vail, and I am joined in studio as as it were, by Jim Ogsbury, the executive director of the Western Governors Association. And first of all, Jim, good morning. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Love the tie.
Thank you.
In fact, tell us about your ties real quick.
So I've got a state tie here. It's got the Colorado logo. I've got ties for most of the western states. Not all of them. I don't have ties for those states who don't pay dues. But other than that, you're covered.
Do you have a Guam tie?
I do have a Guam tie. I wore it most of yesterday.
A listener texted to ask, Ross, is Polis going to show up? Of course he is. This is in Colorado, and Jared Polis is, I guess, the host of the event, right, in a way, even though he's not chairman. How does that work?
Well, so Governor Polis will be here. Governor Ige of Hawaii is the chair. And what's really exciting, Ross, is not only do we have the governor of Hawaii and the governor of Colorado, we have 12 governors who are coming to join us in Vail. It is the largest showing of governors in the modern history of WGA.
Really?
Absolutely. And what makes it especially exciting is the composition of governors changed a lot after the election of 2018. More than half of my active governors are brand new, were elected in November.
Wow.
And so I've got 11 new governors in the WGA footprint. 8 of those 11 governors are joining us in Vail this week, and that's so exciting.
Wow.
And it's so exciting to see that they, early in their terms, recognize the importance of collaborating on a bipartisan basis, which is what WGA is all about. We are nothing if not a fiercely bipartisan organization.
Right, and that answers the other question that my listener asked by text. Isn't this event more conservative-leaning than liberal? And the answer is a resounding no.
Well, in fact, after the election, now the political composition of my governors is split right down the middle. We've got we represent the governors of the 22 westernmost states and territories, and of those 22, I've got 11 Democratic governors and 11 Republican governors.
Wow. So furthest east would be Texas and stuff along that?
That's exactly right. It's the Dakotas down to Texas and everything west of that.
And then all the way out to Guam and the Northern Marianas and American Samoa.
Exactly right.
And I'm hoping to get the governor of Guam on the show. Maybe you can help me with that. But because when I was a kid, my dad was stationed on Guam, so I lived on Guam when I was a kid. So that would be a lot of fun. So what does WGA actually do as a group? It's not just a bunch of governors who come and talk about just something they're doing in their own states.
I don't think I have nearly enough time to tell you everything that Western governors do. But we do those. We're an association, so we do those things that associations do. We have meetings. We manage some federal grants. We do publications. But we are mostly a policy development and advocacy organization. And I can state without fear of contradiction that no other group of elected officials are on a bipartisan basis producing and pursuing public policy that is as significant and as meaningful and as substantive as that being pursued by Western governors. And we operate on a resolutions basis. The governors they negotiate bipartisan resolutions, and we'll be announcing their adoption of some resolutions on this at this meeting.
Anything you can tell us that's coming up, or anything you can tell us that you think was especially significant in the past year or so?
Sure. So for probably a generation, WGA was really focused almost exclusively on resource issues. So wildfire and endangered species, anything having to do with public lands, because we represent really all of the significant public land states. But the model has been working so well that the governors have substantially expanded our policy footprint over the past few years, and now we've got resolutions on cybersecurity, on healthcare, on trade. So they've got us working in a lot of important and exciting directions.
That's it. The first two of those, what kind of jumps out at me is cybersecurity should mostly not have a lot of partisan bias in the debate, but healthcare could. So how do you do something, for example, in the world of healthcare with a group that's 11 Republicans and 11 Democrats?
Sure. Well, I think one of the things that makes that a Western issue is delivery of health care to rural communities, and that's a challenge that all of my governors, whether they were Republican or Democrat, have. So we're exploring different modalities of telehealth, for example. How do we keep rural hospitals from closing? And that is going to be a major topic of Governor Burgum from North Dakota. He is being installed as our chair at this meeting, and one of the benefits or inducements to leadership is that the chairman has the opportunity to commit a substantial measure of our resources to a particular issue or project or initiative. And Governor Burgum will be announcing his initiative called Reimagining the Rural West, and it really is a rural sustainability effort where we'll be looking at 3 pillars: economic opportunity, and community and connectivity. And rural healthcare will be a very, very significant part of that conversation.
Right, and I'm looking forward to speaking with Governor Burgum actually a little bit later in the day, who seems separate from his role as governor. Just seems like he's probably a really interesting dude, because my background is finance and investing and stuff as well. So I'm looking forward to talking to him. But and also rural broadband is a thing that he's going to talk about. It's big in Colorado. We've had similar issues with rural hospitals closing down in Colorado. So these are, it makes a lot of sense.
Well, and in fact, one of our panels that we'll be having over the next 3 days is on rural broadband and connectivity.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So how many ties are you going to wear today?
Well, I got through 7 last night, and that was just during a 90-minute reception, so probably quite a few.
That's pretty good. You must be. Are you got any clip-ons?
I don't have any clip-ons.
So that you must be like the fastest tie putter oner in the world.
I've had a lot of experience. Yeah, it's pretty quick.
You should maybe go for the Guinness Book of World Records for like the most number of ties a person can put on in 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I will leave this meeting with fewer ties than I came, because some of the governors take a shine to my ties, and I lost 2 last night.
Did you really?
I did.
Which 2 did you lose?
1 to Nevada and 1 to North Dakota.
Okay, so all right. So here's my last question for you. And those of you just joining, my special guest is Jim Ogsbury, the executive director of the Western Governors Association. Okay, so here's what I need to know then. If you ever watch big-time soccer games, professional soccer, a lot of times at the ends of the games, the players will take their shirts off and exchange them with players on the other team, right?
We're definitely planning to do that with the governors.
That's definitely not what I meant. Oh, my gosh. No, so my question is, like you said, you lost your Nevada tie. Did you lose it to someone from Nevada, or is it more like the soccer game where someone not from Nevada wanted the Nevada tie?
No, it was.
And you realize I am still president of the Bad Analogy Club.
Oh, I did not know that.
But now you understand.
I get that. No, I lost it to somebody who's decidedly through and through Nevada, and it was Governor Sisolak of Nevada.
All right. So then you just go buy another one. You got it? Okay, do you have any state ties that are so vintage and you've had them for so long that you would just say no if someone asked you for them?
No.
Wow. All right. Way to take care of the membership. Jim Ogsbury, thanks so much for being here, and thanks for inviting us to broadcast at WGA this year.
Thanks, Ross.
It's really a pleasure to be here.
It's great to have iHeartRadio here. Thank you.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I want to do a really random topic when we come back, briefly, because this is a nutty story. And then later in this hour, we're going to have the Secretary of the Interior join me for a good long interview. Just a short thing coming up. Next, many people thought, and certainly we all would have hoped, that we never would have had an American serial killer with more confirmed murders than Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer. But it seems like we do. The story of a man who may be responsible for more than 90 murders. We'll do it right after these brief words here on the Ross Kaminsky Show.
Tom, the troubleshooter. This morning,
Chad Madlam coming up.
For problems, questions, and complaints, we do it all and give you a voice on the Troubleshooter Show coming up.
Can you do it?
Troubleshooter Tom Martino on 630 KM.
So look, you're talking 10-year note interest rates around 2.1%. So you're probably looking at mortgage rates very low 4s, somewhere in the 4% range. Again, it depends on your own personal financial situation, right? Each person's got to deal with their own credit scores and all that. But Chad Madlam is so confident that with the real estate market still being hot, interest rates as low as they are, people looking to buy instead of rent and that sort of thing, that he's so confident that he can sell your house, that he is offering this guarantee. If Chad does not get you 3 offers within 48 hours of listing your home, you can cancel your listing contract with him. You normally don't get that kind of opportunity. So, but he's that confident he doesn't think he'll have to deal with any of that because he'll get you the offers. And by the way, if you don't sell your home the regular way and you just want to get it done, Chad will make you an offer within 24 hours of you telling him you want an offer, and he'll offer to buy the home from you. So, look, when you're ready to sell your home, you need to talk to the guy who's sold more than 5,000 homes in the state of Colorado, more than any other real estate agent, Chad Madlum. Learn more at chadmadlum.com, ChadMadlom.com.
Hi, this is because of the clock change. You only have 30 seconds between spots. A Colorado voice is 25 seconds from now.
In Bath at our new location, 560 South Lipan Street, Denver, just south of Alameda.
Yeah, and then
on
it looks
Lipan.
like this is
Look for
going to
the
be just a
giant orange and blue
super
building. We will
short
still have
segment
Denver's
because I
best deals on
took
kitchen
that
and
one a
bathroom
little long.
cabinets, granite.
Understood, and then an Elway after another 30-second break.
Really?
And in cabinets and your granite countertops. All
Here you go, 5 away, Colorado voice, you're up.
560 South Lipan Street in Denver or online at buyandbuild.net.
You know, I'm sitting here in Vail, Colorado, broadcasting from the Western Governors Association, and the bottom line is I'm actually able to sit here and do my job. I'm actually able to sit here and talk with you, and then we'll talk with governors, and we'll talk with the Secretary of Interior in a few minutes. You know what? If it weren't for Dr. David Opperman and the Colorado Voice Clinic, I wouldn't be here talking to you. Late last year, I had some very serious voice issues going on, and I didn't know what the problem was. And I went to Dr. Opperman, and without going into too much detail, he did a laser procedure on my vocal cords, and I'm still here. And I'm still able to do this job I love and still able to feed my family. And I'll tell you what, I think many, many people use their voices to do their jobs and don't understand, haven't thought about how dependent you are on your voices. Think about that. A teacher, a preacher, a politician, one of these governors, always got to talk. If your voice is given out on you, I want you to talk to the very best voice doctor in Colorado, one of the very best anywhere. Dr. Opperman at the Colorado Voice Clinic. Learn more at coloradovoiceClinic.com.
If you're looking down 30 away, Elway.
The best deal and the best installation at Art of Granite. Hello, I'm consumer advocate Tom Martino. Mitch has a great way of doing business at Art of Granite. You can get prices on the phone. Yes, because he only charges for fabrication and installation. All stone is sold at wholesale. Don't forget cabinets direct from the manufacturer. 303-386-5919. Call now, 303.
Here you go. You are up.
So when I went over to the John Elway website yesterday, actually, I was checking this out yesterday, on the weekend, yes, it's true, and I saw a link to the John Elway Credit Center. I thought this was a really interesting thing. So I went over to elwaydealers.com first. That's kind of the easiest way to see all the inventory and everything that the John Elway stores have for you. But over on the right side of the page, you will see a link for the John Elway Credit Center. And you know what? If you're someone who's been dealing with some difficult financial times, I want you to check this out. Because the John Elway Credit Center, what they specialize in and what they take great pride and joy in is finding a way for people with difficult credit situations to buy a vehicle. They can help you just out of bankruptcy, potentially even if you're still in bankruptcy. Most car places will tell you can't get a car while you're in bankruptcy. John Elway is often able to help people do that. I want you to learn more at elwaydealers.com.
Ask Alexa to play.
All right, you guys okay?
Radio. Then you can hear The Sean Hannity Show. Weekdays 1 to 4.
Getting 630 KHOW from iHeartRadio.
If Denver's talking about it, you'll hear it on 630 KHOW.
All right, good morning, everyone. I am Ross. Thanks so much for starting your day and your week with me. Coming up in less than 15 minutes, I will be joined right here. We're in Vail, broadcasting from the Western Governors Association. I will be joined in this beautiful room that we are broadcasting from by David Bernhardt, the Secretary of the Interior. He's actually from Colorado. And we're going to have a lot to talk about his growing up in Colorado, but also use of federal lands, for example, recreation, oil and gas, and all that. So that's coming up. I've got just a couple minutes. I want to tell you this kind of insane story. So many of you have probably heard the name of this guy, Gary Ridgway, Ridgway. He was known as the Green River Killer, and he has long been thought to be the most, prolific serial killer in the history of the United States. It turns out that somebody may have killed more people. There's a guy named Samuel Little, and he's 79 years old. He's in prison serving 3 consecutive life sentences in California, and based on his health, he'll probably die fairly soon. But this story is crazy because this guy, so at first when he was arrested, he denied everything. But then there was actually a member of the U.S. Marshal Service who somehow kind of got to know him a little bit and got his trust, and he started opening up and basically admitting to murder after murder after murder after murder. And this guy has a very good memory, apparently, and has actually done some drawings and said, this year in this place, and this woman looked like this. And now they are quite certain that they have connected him to more than 60 murders, but they think the number could be as high as something in the 90s. From the 1970s all the way through around 2005. Just a very disturbing story, but also, it's probably worth looking into in some way. How do you get away with that for that period of time? Anyway, just a random thing I wanted to share with you. We'll be right back with the Secretary of the Interior.
Highways as you head out this morning, lots of sunshine and more problems.
RMMC after traffic.
Both directions of C470 at Bowles affect.
And that's it for this break.
C470 blocked at Bowles. Commerce City Drive, very heavy traffic. We've had crashes each direction, speeds down to the
Anything after the news?
Still have an accident westbound to
Wind River.
Okay.
And I-70, those steel basculaires off-ramps shut down. That's construction running late.
You said RMMC now?
It's going to be
after.
Yes, 30 away.
Okay.
A low of 50 degrees. Tomorrow, sunny skies, but windy, upper 70s. Right now, it's 52. With traffic and weather, I'm Susan Thielen, 630 KHOW.
Or online, save 5% on eligible purchases with your Lowe's Business Credit account. Do it right for less.
5 away, you are up.
Combined with other credit offers. Exclusions apply. See store for details. U.S. only.
So when you call Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic, you're going to get help right away from a team that has specialized for years in helping men with sexual performance issues. And look, I realize it's early on a Monday morning, and you're thinking, why are you talking about this? And the answer is very simple. That within the sound of my voice right now, I guarantee you there are hundreds of guys who could benefit from the help of Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic. You know how I know that? Because they have helped tens of thousands of men. And I really want to make sure that if you need that kind of help, you're dealing with ED or sexual performance issues, 2 things I want to make sure. Number 1, don't wait a year to get help, okay? Don't just waste 6 or 8 or 10 months of your life being afraid or embarrassed to get help. Number 2, don't just buy pills online. Pills don't work for most people. They can have side effects. You need to work with local experts. Learn more at RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com.
Thank you.
Folks, Dan Cicchini.
You're clear.
Gosh, how can it be that we started Done Right Home Improvements way back in 1985 already? How can it be that 3 of our grandkids are now working in the business? Geez, we didn't have grandkids back then. And to think that we've designed, built, and installed tens of thousands of projects? How can that be, Todd?
Dad, it's the things you've always taught us. Do good work, show up on time, price fairly, and above all, keep your promises. Our performance speaks for itself. Whether it's kitchens, baths, counters, or floors, or even replacement windows and doors, they have our word we'll treat them right at Done Right.
You betcha, Todd. And with the weather like it is and today's incentives, that's right, incentives, now is the time to call and save a full 12% off all services for select install dates. 303-722-2295, 800-362-8370, or drhi.com. 303-722-2295.
I'm not a big talker. I am a big doer. But sometimes the only way to solve the problem is to get on the horn and figure it out. So the only people I like talking to? Grainger. With knowledgeable product experts, ready with the answers to my toughest questions, calling Grainger is the one conversation I don't mind having. From machining and motor parts to valves and vacuum pumps. When it comes to solving
Hey,
my
Shannon, how
problems,
much time have we got?
Grainger's got my back. Call.
Gosh, we're back for that live at like 33.
Get it
At
done.
33.
Ish, yeah.
Farm Girl Flowers in San Francisco. With my Spark Cash Card from Capital One, I earn unlimited 2% cash back on all my business purchases. Last year, I redeemed $115,000 in cash back. Yeah, $115,000. And that doubled our digital marketing budget for the summer. Thanks to my Spark Card, we had our best summer yet. Imagine what the Spark Card from Capital One could do for your business. What's in your wallet?
Real Capital One customers pay for real stories. Credit approval required.
PriceFixerDenver.com. They have the absolute lowest pricing on air conditioner repairs. They never pay their technicians on commission. PriceFixerDenver.com will never charge a trip or diagnostic fee. They have honest, straightforward pricing, and they can even give you quotes over the phone. If you do need a new unit, you'll get the #1 selling air conditioner in the United States at the guaranteed lowest price. If you love saving money, transparent pricing, great service, and the best guarantees, go to PriceFixerDenver.com.
Even in my own home, I had my own designated space to smoke. If I think about it, it really was like I was punishing myself. A friend of mine said, why wouldn't you just try the Juul? And so I went out and I bought one. The idea of going back to smoking, I couldn't even imagine doing that. I don't think anyone, including myself, thought that I could switch.
Carolyn made the switch October 2016. Make the switch at JUUL.com. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Hey, my friend's retail store was the victim of IoT password theft.
Yep. Cyber criminals are taking over security cameras, payment systems, and other IoT devices by exploiting vulnerabilities.
What if they target us and our dispersed network?
We're secured with Barracuda. We have advanced firewalls for our sites, enhanced security for our cloud infrastructure, and total email protection.
Such a relief.
Protect your business at Barracuda.com. Barracuda, your journey secured.
Grainberry. Excuse me, do you work at this grocery store?
Yeah.
Can you toss a box of Grainberry into my cart? I can't reach the top shelf.
Sure. You know, I love Grainberry cereal too.
Another box, please?
Grainberry cereal's great for sugar control and has tons of antioxidants.
Yep, another, please.
Wow, you must have a big family.
Cut the chit-chat, Jerry. I'm only here for the Grainberry.
Grainberry cereal with amazing onyx. Grab a box today.
Grainberry.
Our 2019 iHeartRadio Music Festival in Las Vegas, September 20th and 21st. You heard the lineup. Now you gotta be there. Open the free iHeartRadio app and listen to the iHeartRadio Music Festival station, and you'll be automatically entered to win Def Leppard, Heart, the Zac Brown Band, and so many more. Win your way to our 2019 iHeartRadio Music Festival. Open the app now and get entered to win your music, your stations, and #1 for podcasts.
iHeartRadio.
Fox News, I'm Lillian Wu. Mexico taking action in the immigration face-off.
Did you say Wind River?
With the U.S.
Yes, sir.
Plans for higher tariffs over migrants at our southern border.
Starting today.
How are things lining up there? You doing all right?
6,000 members of its National Guard.
It's 7:30 already.
With Guatemala to stem the flow
If
of
this interview is good,
Tijuana,
we'll probably
Mexico.
replay it at 9, at the top of the 9.
Right, I'll be ready.
In the U.S. will remain here in Mexico. That could mean tens of thousands of migrants in cities along Mexico's northern border.
President of the Naval War College, Rear
There he
Admiral
is.
Jeffrey Harley's been reassigned pending the outcome of an Inspector General investigation, according to the Navy. And a motorcyclist has died after being hit Sunday afternoon by lightning, which cracked his helmet and caused a crash on an interstate in Florida. This is Fox News.
This is Denver's talk station, 630 KHOW. An iHeartRadio station. With Ross Kaminsky mornings, Dan Kaplis afternoons at 4. KHOW, Denver.
From the
Fox Business Network. Mergers in the news today. Brown-Forman, the maker of Jack Daniels, is buying the 86 Company, which makes Ford's gin. Data software company Tableau is being sold to business software company Salesforce. The deal is valued at $15.7 billion. Tableau is expected to operate as an independent unit and remain in Seattle. And United Technologies is buying Raytheon. The two defense contractors combined will be a business worth more than $100 billion, but still will be smaller than Boeing. United Technologies is selling off some parts of the business. Chick-fil-A is posing a threat to some fast food competitors. Analysts at Bank of America Merrill Lynch say Chick-fil-A is growing fast. Its sales equal about 9% of the 27 largest burger, chicken, and sandwich chains in the U.S.
Shannon, how long?
Fox Business Report, I'm Ginny Cosola.
30 seconds now.
Okay.
You don't want to mess with the IRS. They have the power to garnish your paycheck, levy your bank accounts, and even take your home or business. That's all true. But thankfully, they're offering a way out. The Fresh Start Initiative. If you qualify, you could save thousands. The experts at Optima Tax Relief will fight to get you the best possible tax settlement, and they have an A+ rating with the BBB. Call Optima for your free consultation.
Call 800-410-6744. 800-410-6744.
Hey, I want to make sure you know that you can actually customize and design your own spa at windriverspas.com, but they take it one step further because normally, if you've ever tried shopping for a good hot tub online, a custom spa, that kind of thing, they'll never show you a price on a website. Wind River Spas is changing all that. You go to windriverspas.com, you can choose the size of the spa you want, the jet configurations, the color of the inside, the color of the it's fake wood but long-lasting stuff on the outside. You choose all that, and then it'll show you your price. And that way, there's no sticker shock. There's no nothing. You know exactly what's going on. And so I sure hope you will do that. It is the hot tub that I bought myself, Wind River Spa. I hope you will learn more at windriverspas.com.
Choose my roofer. 303-761-6400.
This forecast from the Denver Trial Lawyers Weather Center.
Sunny and warmer today with the high in the upper 70s. Mostly clear tonight with the low in the low 50s. Mostly sunny again tomorrow with the high back in the upper 70s.
This report is sponsored by Liberty Mutual Insurance, where you only pay for what you need. Nobody should have to pay for one-size-fits-all insurance. Liberty Mutual customizes your coverage so you only pay for what you need. Go to libertymutual.com for a customized quote.
What time do you have to speak to the group?
Sean Hannity today at 1, Glenn Beck tonight at 7. Only on Denver's Talk Station, 630 KHOW.
All right, here we go. 7:34 on a beautiful Monday morning here in Vail, Colorado. If you got to work somewhere, you might as well be in Vail. I am broadcasting live from the Western Governors Association annual meeting, and just very, very pleased to be joined. I'm going to say in studio, but it's not exactly the studio, by our very own Secretary of the Interior, David Bernhardt. David, right?
Yeah, it's great to be here.
And I don't know, I have a brain cramp on your first name.
David, I've been called a lot of things.
So, welcome home. You're from Colorado.
I am. I actually grew up in Rifle, which is just a few miles west of here.
So, is it awesome to be home? Is it better to be home than to be other places?
There's nothing better than being in Colorado. There's no question about that. What's great this year is how green it is up here.
Yeah.
With all the wonderful snow, and everything we do depends on water, and so it's fantastic to see that greenery out here. It's beautiful, cool morning, and no humidity. A lot different than Washington D.C.
That's for sure. I used to live out there. I'm sure you know better than most people. I mean, Colorado, for the first time in however many years, has no part of the state in drought right now.
That's right. And a lot of places throughout the West, it's like that. We had a really, really good year, and we're fortunate for that. And we have to, manage accordingly.
One of the key aspects of your job as Secretary of the Interior is dealing with federal lands. And obviously here at Western Governors Association, the governors who are part of this organization would represent the vast majority of federal lands in the United States. And I also, before we get into the topic more directly, I just want to also point out to listeners, and you can reinforce that you were potentially the most experienced cabinet secretary in your issue, maybe of anybody in the Trump administration right now, right? Sometimes people get put in there because they're a friend of a president or whatever. You know this stuff. You've been doing this for a long time. So maybe before we jump into some of these issues, give my listeners 30 seconds on your background.
Well, I grew up in Rifle, Colorado, and for those listeners that don't know, Rifle is a small town completely surrounded by federal lands. And on those federal lands, all sorts of activities take place: hunting, fishing, rock climbing, recreating, mountain biking, but also the development of energy, natural resources, and a whole host of activities. So the community that I grew up around was used to managing a multitude of projects and issues on federal lands, and also knowing the consequences of those. I grew up in Rifle during a big oil shale boom and bust, and that bust had tremendous effect on our community, and I got to understand just exactly how significant federal decisions can be to the hopes, aspirations, and dreams of those communities. And that experience crystallized in me a deep interest in, number one, natural resources and the management of natural resources, and number two, a recognition that the government needs to, the federal government needs to be balanced in its interests between what the federal government wants to do, what the state wants to do, and what the locality wants to do in a particular area. And the beauty of most of the things that Interior deals with is part of our mission is to harmonize those various interests in the law, and that's great. So my interest in this area was crystallized there. I worked for a member of Congress, then I was in private law practice, and then another Coloradan named Gail Norton, who was former Attorney General here in the state. She became Secretary of the Interior, and she asked me to join her at the department. I was a young lawyer working for her, and I went there, and I promised my wife I'd work for a year there, and then go do something that would be a real job. And I ended up staying 8 because the department has so many wonderful issues. It does things that are so important. It manages 1/5 of all the land in the United States.
Wow.
And the Outer Continental Shelf, which is an additional 1.7 billion acres. And, its mission, it has the National Park Service, which really tells the story of America, holds our iconic, structures, whether it's the Statue of Liberty, Independence Hall, the Liberty Bell itself, all the way down to, Rocky Mountain National Park here, where my wife and I got married actually in Estes Park, right outside of Rocky Mountain. And so you have the Park Service on one hand, you have the Fish and Wildlife Service that manages all of the fish and wildlife refuges in the United States. They're federal. You have the responsibilities with American Indians, which are very deep and long held based on treaties and trust responsibilities. We manage a very large school program for Indian children. And then, of course, we have the Bureau of Land Management, which has to manage multiple use, and people out in Colorado are very familiar with. We also have the U.S. Geological Survey, which does some of the best science in the federal government. And so it's a wonderful agency to work with. And then on top of that, to get to represent a president who's completely focused on keeping his promises to the American people. And we see that on everything he's doing, right? I mean, whether it's negotiating trade agreements, focused on the border, moving the embassy to the capital of Israel, Jerusalem. You just see him walk through that. And with Interior, what's really interesting is very early on in his presidency, and even as a candidate, he was very clear with his objectives for Interior. And in doing that, he made our job somewhat simpler because we didn't have to really, we know what the priorities are, and then it's just a question of managing for them.
Well, so can you summarize in a sentence how you view President Trump's priorities as kind of marching orders for Interior that you are now working to implement?
Of course. So the president was was really incredibly clear in detail. And so we developed a plan based on that clarity. And so, number one, he wants to have a conservation legacy that's second only to Theodore Roosevelt, focused on the true conservationists, the hunters and anglers of our country, and what they've done. And if you study history, what you'll see is whereas it was the hunters and anglers of America that came up with the North American model of wildlife conservation. And they said, hey, we need to have things like the federal duck stamp. We need to have where we put hunters pay a fee, and that money goes back into conservation for waterfowl. They developed the Pittman-Robertson Act, which basically says if I buy something for an archery component or a hunting component, I pay a special tax to fund those efforts. And if you look worldwide, we've done a better job managing our wildlife collectively, the states and us, than really anywhere in the world. And that model was based on those conservationists. So what are we concerned about? We want to make sure there's public access. In everything we do, we're looking at how does this decision impact our public access? Because access is one of the primary reasons, or lack of access is one of the primary reasons people don't get involved in hunting and fishing and in the outdoors. And the reality is we're doing things that are unprecedented. Just last week, I announced a proposal to proposed regulation that either modifies or removes 7,000 complicated regulatory provisions that affect our hunting and fishing requirements at specific sites. And on top of that, by doing that, clarifying, what we did is we lined it up with the state regulations that are nearby so that people aren't confused. And then we're opening an additional 1.4 million acres, either through expanded hunting opportunities and fishing opportunities or brand new fishing and hunting opportunities. And to think about that, that's about 80% the size of Delaware, 1.4 million acres.
Wow.
So number one, that's a priority. Number two, the president wants to take advantage of the reality of the energy renaissance that's happening in the United States. And if you look back the last few years, what you'd see is that federal lands didn't leap into that, take advantage of that energy renaissance. And a big part of that, we believe, was because there was regulation that just was a little out of kilter. And so we've modified.
You talked previously about wanting to have balance in the way federal lands are used. I think under the previous administration, I didn't see anything that approached balance. It was all one way.
That's right. You know, that's certainly the president's view. And so what we've done is we've streamlined a number of things. We're not sacrificing a single regulatory standard in terms of environmental security or safety. But what we are doing is dramatically changing business practices, just bringing a common sense approach to this. And what does that mean? When I got to Interior, if the BLM in the state of Colorado made a decision that had to be published in what is called the Federal Register, which is where we put our stuff. If they were going to do that, if the state director sent it to me, it would take 199 days before it'd be in the Federal Register. Today, on average, we've moved that to 32 days, just simply by looking at the business processes and saying, look, we can do this in a different way better. And we're doing that right across the board. So obviously the president cares deeply about improving our common sense approach to governance, because he believes, and this is really the thing that ought to resonate with all of your listeners. Here's the president's big view on government, if you want it from me. And that is, he is committed to a government that serves the people, not a view that the people serve the government. And that's a mind shift for the bureaucracy, right? Oftentimes folks view, not oftentimes, but there's been times where the public is viewed as an inconvenience.
Right.
And the reality is that's not the case. We're there to serve, and we have We have 70,000 employees in Interior who are fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And they're so dedicated to their work, and they're great. But our focus at the end of the day is how do we deliver to that American citizen better? And that is really the president's, in a one-sentence statement, that's my view of what he expects of government. He expects it to work better.
Let's talk about a couple specific issues, and you've touched on them both already, but let's start with recreational access to federal lands, and to whatever extent you can give specific examples that relate to Colorado,
Sure.
that would be great. So, the debate is always how do you protect the land but allow it to be used at the same time, and again, previous administration, it seemed like the default was always, sorry, you can't do that, which doesn't seem like an appropriate thing in a free country, but that's just libertarian Ross talking. So what are you doing, and how are you balancing those competing interests to increase recreational access while still, as you said, trying to build that conservation legacy that President Trump says is important to him?
So we've done a number of things. First, development and recreation aren't mutually exclusive principles. We have one of the simplest things I've done is said, look, anytime we're disposing of, acquiring, or exchanging land, and we are a large land management entity, and we do that. Okay, every single time we do that, we have to ask a question, and that question is, what is the effect of this on public access? Because if acquiring a parcel would open up public access significantly, say it's like landlocked and you can buy a small parcel and do, that's something we ought to be focused on. If disposing of that would lock that parcel up, that's something we need to do on. The other reality, and this is important, people don't get this, if you look at technology today and where we were years ago, the reality is we have fewer acres leased at BLM today than we've had for a very long time.
For energy development.
For energy development. And at the same time, our production is actually up. So what does that say? That says that people are getting greater production, the lessees, out of smaller and smaller tracts. So when you look at what does technology allow you to do, where are our priority areas, the president promised that we'd expand access to public lands for resource development, but that doesn't mean for a minute sacrificing those values. The other thing we've done is really worked with the states to provide good science to help them identify and then work with us to regulate big game migration corridors, because I think that that's an area where we can work cooperatively with the states, identify corridors that they think are important, and then work to manage those corridors in a way that harmonizes their interest in the wildlife. And then in terms of public access, one of the big things we've done, Congress passed a law and the president signed it in March that basically ensures this concept of public access for hunters and anglers and sportsmen is specifically identified in every plan we do for land, so that we have to think about it, decide what we might want to do about it, and has as a policy expanding that access. The other thing they did is they said, look, public land is open for hunting and fishing, or for hunting, unless it's specifically closed.
Right.
And that's a very big thing.
That is, and that's the right default position, For those just joining the show, my very special guest, David Bernhardt, Secretary of the Interior and native of Rifle, Colorado. In fact, you touched on something that I've wanted to ask an expert about. Oftentimes in the debate about recreational use, or even more, actually, not so much recreational, more the oil and gas side, a lot of environmentalists talk about impact on the wildlife, and and you talked about the migration corridors. Can you help me understand how big an issue is that really? Like I heard them, they talk about we shouldn't have a pipeline in Alaska because it'll interfere with the caribou, right? And then you see the caribou kind of hanging out because it's nice and warm and comfortable. So I'm trying to figure out what's overstated and what's real. Like, won't the elk just walk around the thing? You understand my question?
Well, I think in all honesty, it varies. And so the pipeline you mentioned, the Trans-Alaska Pipeline, was built a long time ago, and they actually raised the elevation to allow caribou to move over it. You know, we have a lot of folks who focus on the science, and I think my view on that is that we can incorporate a lot of the science into our thinking, particularly as the number of wells that you can put on an individual pad have expanded because of the availability of horizontal drilling. The reach is much farther. So technology has been helpful. You know, different animals. I mean, we have different species that have different behaviors. We need to be mindful of that. But the concept of just do nothing is not entirely supportable. Most of these things can be addressed with good science, good monitoring, and good adaptation as things change. And obviously, you know, wildlife are not static in the world we're in. There's things, the environment is changing, and as a result, we need to build that into our plans a little bit. But you know, and you certainly can find pictures where deer are right next to a pipeline or caribou. At the same time, there are issues where the avoidance is real, and we need to account for those.
We have about 2 minutes left. Another thing that just occurred to me, and wasn't even thinking of asking you this, but is your department involved much with the question about wolves and where to let wolves go? And because this is becoming an issue in at least part of Colorado, where you got ranchers, and a friend of mine has buffalo up there, and like what's the story with wolves? And we got about 2 minutes.
So here's the reality with wolves. We have a proposed rule out to delist the Great Lakes wolves, and which really, from a science perspective, our scientists are convinced they're completely recovered. And so we've proposed that. We're taking a lot of comment on that. It's a huge issue. And it's a huge, on one hand, it's a great success story, right?
Yeah.
They're back. On the other, the states feel like they're ready to manage them. And our scientists are convinced that they're at a point where that's sustainable. So we're working through that. A lot of people have a lot of comment. When we get to the end, we'll make a decision on that soon.
Okay, I've got 1 minute left. Just tell us briefly what you've got coming up with a trip you're going to take with the Vice President of the United States.
Well, this is awesome. One of the President's big priorities, and we really put a big investment in our budget to improve the infrastructure we have at national parks. Because if you go to a park right now, we have buildings crumbling, literally. And the great thing about that is everybody loves our parks, everybody. And so we're trying to get some legislation to help us with that. The Vice President is going to be in Yellowstone helping us with a maintenance backlog project. So we're so thrilled that he's coming. And more importantly, we're hoping that drives folks to recognize the issue that we need to take better care of our parks.
Secretary of the Interior David Bernhardt, thanks so much. It's great to meet you in person. Really appreciate your being here, and really appreciate having someone with your level of expertise in the job that you're doing. That's no place for rookies to learn on the job, and you really know this stuff.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a real privilege.
Okay, we'll be back in a little bit. I am broadcasting from the Western Governors Association annual meeting in Vail. We will have some governors joining us. While probably you'll hear from most of them tomorrow, we've got a lot more to do today. Keep it here.
This is Denver's Station 630 KHOW, an iHeartRadio station with Russ Kaminsky mornings. Tom Martino next at 10. KHOW Denver.
Sponsored by Farmers Insurance.
We are farmers.
Heavy highways for this morning's drive. We are loaded up. The I-25 corridors. You head into downtown. We got a problem north on I-25 at Downing. That's an accident on the shoulder, but the off-ramp to Downing, that is temporarily blocked. That is a slow drive for you. I-70 corridor jammed up as well. Construction running late. The ramp from I-70 to Steel Vasquez. That Steel Vasquez ramp shut down. And 270 jam-packed. We've had crashes each direction. Now we're on the toll road. An accident southbound E-470 approaching Peoria. Denver forecast, sunny today, high near 78, overnight low 50 degrees, and tomorrow it's going to be windy, upper 70s, right now 52. With traffic and weather, I'm Susan.
Hello.
6:30.
Hello, nothing until, actually there's nothing in the top.
Okay.
So I'll talk to you at 06.
Oh, I should have asked him sock shoe.
Well, that and did you see the note I sent? He graduated from George Washington Law College, and so he knows D.C. too. So Colorado, little D.C. connection.
I did not. Oh, did you put that on the call screener? Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Ideas
Okay.
and comments to Phil at khow.com/legal. News.
We should have him more often.
Yeah.
Whether you're
Well,
dating
now
or
I've got the
looking for a
connection.
job or just wanting to feel younger, for guys, it's really important to have the best head of hair you can. Now, for lots of guys, including me, the issue was losing hair toward the
Is that
front or
replayable?
top of your head while still having plenty on.
I will make it so.
Dr.
Yeah,
Broadway
take
said
out the
me
part
and
at the
Brad
beginning
Hair
where I
Restoration
wasn't sure
Procedure
about his
can
first
help
name, and I
you,
asked
like
him
it helped
again.
me, to make
Cut
me,
that
or
out.
At least my hair look a decade, maybe 2 decades younger. Learn more at Denver.
I always try to fix that stuff.
Yes.
03-680-8989.
Yes.
Taxes could be your
All right,
biggest
let's see what we
expense
got
in
going on here.
retirement. Hi, I'm Linda Gardner, host of Your Money, Your Retirement. Don't let tax.
And they can hear us. Some of the comments on the YouTube stream are, it's fascinating to hear what goes on during the breaks. And several people said, had no idea Ross did all of those spots live.
Wow.
Shirts
Yeah.
not get you high, and it's federally legal. In fact, it's totally plant-based and can make you feel better than you felt in a long time. Bluebird Botanicals is a forerunner in the CBD space and has helped thousands of satisfied customers feel better and elevate their mental and physical well-being. Find out more at bluebirdbotanicals.com and try it for yourself today.
I found a heating and air conditioning company that has the lowest price guarantee and great service. If you ever have a problem with your air conditioner, go to PriceFixerDenver.com. They have same-day service, they never charge a trip or diagnostic fee, and have the lowest price guarantee on all repairs. If you need a new system, you'll get the #1 selling air conditioner in the U.S. for the guaranteed lowest price. They even give quotes over the phone. The lowest prices, the best guarantees. PriceFixerDenver.com.
Get up first thing, smoke a cigarette. Before lunch, after lunch. Now that I'm talking about it, I kind of feeling like I've lost about 4 hours of every day. I decided I needed to find an alternative. So I started looking, and then Juul came up. I did both for a while. Eventually, I just switched over, and it's very quick.
Mimi made the switch July 2015. Make the switch at JUUL.com. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Sheridan Auto Tech. Good people. And isn't that what you really want in an auto repair shop? So you get what you need when you need it, and you get it done right. Kevin Calkin, the owner, is honorable and will never sell you anything you don't need. He has thousands of loyal customers, been in business more than 20 years. 303-455-7242. Or visit him in 2 convenient locations. In Lakewood on Colfax just west of Wadsworth, or in Aurora on Havana just south of 6th Avenue. Sheridan Auto Tech.
This forecast from the Denver Trial Lawyers Weather Center.
Sunny and warmer today with the high in the upper 70s. Mostly clear tonight with the low in the low 50s. Mostly sunny again tomorrow with the high back in the upper 70s.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Pros do it right to save 5% more every day by shopping at Lowe's. In-store or online, save 5% on eligible purchases with your Lowe's Business Credit account. Do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. Subject to credit approval. Cannot be combined with other credit offers. Exclusions apply. See store for details. U.S. only.
Mission Impossible. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what Mexico's foreign minister says about the U.S. goal of getting it down to 0 migrants crossing. But he adds, if the new agreement brings the number, it'll show their measures are working. This deal between the U.S. and Mexico avoided the tariffs President Trump had threatened. Fox's Rachel Sutherland live in Washington.
Dave, Mexico could still be faced with levies if it doesn't follow through on the agreement. Counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway, told Fox and Friends.
It has an enforcement mechanism. It has an enforcement feature to it because these tariffs can go on at any time.
President Trump dangled a potential second deal on Twitter this morning, writing, "It will be revealed in a not-too-distant future and will need a vote by Mexico's legislative body." The president also bashed a New York Times article that claims a deal was reached before he threatened tariffs, calling it a hit job. Dave?
Now, Rachel, Democrats reacted to that report as well. Beto O'Rourke told ABC's This Week.
I think the president has completely overblown what he purports to have achieved.
He was one of 19 Democrats running for president who went to Iowa yesterday to address possible caucus goers, but O'Rourke has dropped to just 2% in a new CNN Des Moines Register poll. Joe Biden, who skipped that event, has a smaller lead now. Bernie Sanders just 8 points back. House Democrats plan another hearing today into the Mueller report and possible obstruction of justice.
This is about defending the Constitution and the rule of law. It's not just about this president, it's about future presidents and how they will regard their responsibilities in office.
But Congressman David Cicilline tells Fox News Sunday they should not go through with impeachment unless the American public supports it. David Ortiz is in stable condition. The morning after the former Boston Red Sox All-Star was shot in the Dominican Republic, police say a crowd tackled and beat the gunman. A drug company caught up in the opioids crisis has filed for bankruptcy a week after Insys Therapeutics agreed to a $225 million settlement with the Justice Department over bribes paid to doctors to prescribe a fentanyl spray for cancer patients in pain. This is Fox News.
All money managers might seem the same, but while some give their clients cookie-cutter portfolios, Fisher Investments tailors portfolios to your goals and needs. Some only call when they have something to sell. Fisher calls regularly, so you stay informed. And while some advisors are happy to earn commissions whether you do well or not, Fisher Investments fees are structured so we do better when you do better. In other words, we're on your side. Maybe that's why most of our clients come from other money managers. So if you're in or nearing retirement, talk with us and find out why investors are switching to and staying with Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments. Clearly better money management. Investments in securities involve the risk of loss. Visit us at FisherInvestments.com to find out what we can do for you.
KHOW News Time, 8:03.
One Colorado city tries a new approach to get e-cigarettes out of the hands of teenagers. Broomfield Public Health Director Jason Bolling says every Monday, teens can turn in vape pens at a local rec center and get a free pass for the summer.
Encourage them to give up this unhealthy behavior and take on some healthy behaviors in their community.
A recent CDC study, 27% of all high school students.
Ross, you with me?
I am. Are we going out over the live stream right now?
Yeah, a little bit, but yeah.
Hello, everybody who's watching on the live stream. We're in a break right now. What's up, Shannon?
I was yelling at you a little when we were getting into the secretary there because I was playing a Florida Georgia Line song that starts out, I got friends in Colorado. And I was hoping you'd hear that and be able to go, yeah, and I got one of them right here.
Oh, I missed it.
I didn't set you up enough.
Sorry.
And it goes on to say, I got friends in Tennessee, so I got something in a bottle, and I got something from a seed.
Hi, folks. Dan Cicchini. Oh, my.
Everybody listening on YouTube right now, you get an idea of the G-rated version of what happens when we're not on the air.
I'm watching it today.
And you can see that I actually do my live commercials live, which apparently Shannon was seeing some comments like, people didn't know that I actually did them live.
We got a fellow named John and a fellow named Patrick that were talking about it. Hi, guys.
Hi, John. Hi, Patrick. I did just get an interesting listener email question about basically how the show gets made, which I might answer on the air right now. Why not?
That's right. Incentives. Now is the time to call and save a full 12% off all
Why
services
not?
for select install dates. 303-722-2095.
All right, it's after 8.
800-362-8870.
We're going to be here for a while. Shannon, are you gonna stick around
303-722.
after the show?
I could. What could I do to help?
Well, we just need to figure out the audio editing because I expect that I'm gonna interview
are taking over security cameras, payment systems, and other
3
IoT
governors
devices by
probably
exploiting
just after the
vulnerabilities.
show.
What if they
Now, am I going to record you somewhere, or Mike, are you planning on rolling on a?
Right now I'm working on getting Adobe to record because it's not recognizing the audio input. I'm working with Eric Hood on that. At the moment, you should have it ready to roll here anytime, but you should be able to go into KOA once they finish with the news there at the top, then nobody will be in there, and you could record the first few interviews that way, and that way you've got a copy there.
I mean, heck, I could go down to the basement and plug my recorder into the back of the...
That's true. Yeah, there's a number of different ways to do it.
We just need to make sure it gets done. We can't lose this audio. But then the main reason, Shannon, that I was asking him you can stick around is to edit that stuff so that it'll be good for tomorrow. So my goal is to live stream this stuff now, but then play the audio tomorrow. All right, good morning, everybody. It's 8:06 on this beautiful Monday. I am Ross. I sure hope you're checking us out, checking me out now. It was us a few minutes ago when I had the Secretary of the Interior. Pretty cool to have a cabinet secretary sitting next to me. He's actually from Rifle, Colorado. But anyway, we're broadcasting from Vail today and tomorrow from the Western Governors Association annual meeting. And we're live streaming all of the show, pretty much all of the show. I don't know if we've done this before, doing the whole show on YouTube. So if you go to youtube.com and just type in my name, Ross Kaminsky, with a Y on the end, please, you should be able to see the link for today's show. I'm wearing a white button-down shirt, so if you see that, because I don't wear that to work very often, if you see me in a white button-down shirt and wearing a headset also, right, because I don't do that at the station, then you'll know you've got the right link, and you can check it out on YouTube and send comments and all that stuff.
Do it before they pull our channel.
Yeah, do it before they demonetize me like Steven Crowder. Actually, I don't make money from my YouTube channel. Maybe one day. It's a nice goal, isn't it, Shannon? I see these people walking around because, we just had the Secretary of the Interior. I think there's an undersecretary of something or other going to be around here today. A whole bunch of governors, obviously. Western Governors Association, I think 12 governors are going to be here. Jared's going to arrive later, and we're going to talk to him. But I see all these dudes walking around with the earpieces in, the security guys. And there was a guy with a dog, and I recognized them both from, Shannon, when you and I were at the Western Conservative Summit last July. And the same guy walking around with a bomb and explosive sniffing dog. And he came in our room here that we're broadcasting from and brought the dog around and sniffed everything. Even like circuit breaker panels in the wall. He'd have the dog, get up on its hind legs to get a little higher and sniff around the edges of the circuit breaker panels. It was pretty interesting to see. And then I've seen some state patrol, so a lot of high security. There's an SUV out front that's a Department of Homeland Security. I think it said something like domestic protection or something. A white SUV that's pretty cool anyway. So we're going to have a lot of great interviews. I wanted to just take a minute to do something a little bit random with you for a second, because I got an email from a listener a couple hours back, and he said, "We hear you 3 hours a day," whoever, maybe him and his wife. He said, "A lot of information, guests, clips. I've been wondering what goes into making your show happen." He said, "Oh, I get the whole tower and studio thing. What I'm wondering about is preparing for the show. What do you and your associates go through to make the show happen?" Right? We hear you a few hours a day, but I'm sure your day is much longer. I'm sure you're actually working every waking hour as current events unfold around the clock and not just 8 to 5. So I thought I might actually take a moment right now to answer that. Why not, right? So your intuition is right. So first of all, as a friend of mine said, actually, Greg, who runs KOA, he said to me one time, and I've never forgotten, life is show prep. And just as you're walking around, it could be anything. It could be a random funny thing that you see. It could be, that I mentioned the Department of Homeland Security SUV parked in front of the hotel. It could be news stories that you hear. It could be something you did with your family. It could be anything. And you just have to, as a radio host, you just got to keep your brain open to the idea that almost anything you run across could be worth talking about, either because it's important or just because it's fun, just because it's entertaining. And we try to mix all that stuff up here on the show. So basically, the way it works is usually in the late afternoon or evening, often from, let's say 4 p.m. to 8 or 9 p.m. at home, I'm spending a lot of time doing show prep, which mostly means reading news articles and stuff like that. Producer Shannon will also send me topics, and we just kind of go through them. And then I put together, in fact, this would be kind of funny. If you're watching on YouTube right now, you're watching the live stream of the show up at YouTube, I'm going to turn my laptop around here, and you can see I create this thing here. I'm gonna put this on the YouTube screen, right? So you can kind of see it. And I call this the show sheet. And each night before the show, and this is broken up into hours. Each column represents one of the show hours. And then there's a section, my first segment, like right now in the 8 o'clock hour, 8:06 to 8:24, right? And I just put stuff in there what we want to talk about. Now, I don't follow this religiously, but I put in the topics, and we just go through that. And, yeah, if there's any downside to this job, I absolutely love this job, okay? If there's any downside to this job, being on really early in the morning means that I have to do most of my show prep the day before, because getting up at 4:49, which is when I set my alarm for, because I only set my alarm at prime numbers. So getting up at 4:49 is, I really don't want to get up much earlier. And it's not just that I don't want to. It's that if I got up a lot earlier, I wouldn't function as well. You know, when I first got this job, before I moved down to Littleton, we lived up in Nederland, and I was waking up around 3:30, because that's a 50-mile drive on windy mountain roads when it's dark, you know, sometimes icy, you know, in the winter. And it was really, really hard. So I really can't get up a lot earlier and do show prep earlier in the morning. I just can't. So I got to do it the night before. So the only downside to my job is that it takes a lot of time in the evenings when I would really like to be hanging out with my wife and kids. And I'm trying to get a little better at that, do a little more in the middle of the day, although I don't focus incredibly well in the middle of the day. You ever have that feeling like you get to 2 o'clock and you just want to take a nap? You know what I'm talking about? So for me, because I get up a little earlier than most people, I know there are people who get up before I do, but for me, I'm just kind of tired, like noon, 1, so I don't do my best work then. So I'll go to the gym or do an errand or just watch a TV show or whatever, right? So that's the one downside. I spend a lot of time in the evening away from my family. What else can I tell you? Yeah, Shannon sends me topics. I find topics. We both deal with audio. You know, maybe somebody was talking somewhere and we want to play it on the show. Either I'll get it or Shannon will get it, and we cut it up using some audio software, and then I can play it during the show the next day. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and we're probably going to be doing a little more with podcasts, by the way, on the show. So that's just going to add to what we have to do, but that's all right, because we want to put out a great product for you, and we try to do that every day. So I hope that answers a little bit. You're always free to email me more questions at ross@khow.com, or you can text me at 57739. I got my text thing going right here. I really apologize for neglecting to ask the Secretary of the Interior, Sok-Shu, and whether there is an official protocol on federal lands. For example, is there a rule that we don't know about in national parks, whether a park ranger must do sock, sock, shoe, shoe, or sock, shoe, sock, shoe? I neglected to ask, and frankly, I think that there probably isn't a regulation, and maybe we need to lobby for there to be one. You know, and I know producer Shannon would like it to be sock, shoe, but and maybe the logical choice, you know, maybe if you're in a national park, one of the ones that's like wet all the time, then maybe you would do sock, shoe, so you don't have to put a sock down on a wet floor, which is really the only time that makes sense. But anyway, I will try to do a better job asking sock, shoe of everybody. We will see which governors have a sense of humor when it comes to that. When we talk with governors, again, you'll probably hear most of those conversations tomorrow on the show, but we'll try to do a better job with that. Okay, let me get to some news after several minutes of stalling here on the Monday morning show. And for those of you just joining, I am broadcasting from Vail, from the Western Governors Association annual meeting. So big news on Friday was that President Trump announced on Twitter, in fact, Shannon texted me to say that he saw the tweet, that there was a deal with Mexico and the tariffs would be, as President Trump put it, indefinitely postponed. There go all the security guards, 2 guards or security personnel. There was 2 state patrol and some dude with a thing in his ear who looked very serious. Anyway, so the president tweeted that out. And I talked about this a couple hours ago, but I want to come back to it because I think it's important. I spent much less time on the show talking about the tariffs with Mexico thing than I did with tariffs with China or most other kind of major issues of political economy. And the reason that I spent so little time talking about it was that I thought that both sides would come to the recognition that they absolutely had to make a deal. They really did not have a choice. And so they made a deal. And I really like my terrible analogy of the game of chicken in this case, where you've got these two cars, right, U.S. and Mexico, going to start driving at each other at high speed, but the cars are very unmatched. And here's how I think about it. I just love this terrible analogy. So Mexico is driving, a small sedan, and President Trump is driving a big truck, right, a big nitro-fueled, hydrogen-fueled something or other super fancy truck with all this extra stuff on it, right? And my thought was that in this game of chicken, they both knew that they had to swerve. Now, I don't think Trump knew it to begin with. I think when he first announced that he might do tariffs, I don't think the president actually understood the risk that he was taking, but I think he came to understand it because the business community went crazy, and they're still real worried right now that Trump would go down this road. In fact, I read a story about how the business community has a multi-million-dollar budget set aside for an advertising campaign to push Congress to enact the USMCA, the replacement for NAFTA, and they, at some point recently, had changed that. They're going to stop lobbying for passing the USMCA and instead start running ads encouraging Congress to take back their tariff powers from the president, the stuff that had been delegated to the president, take that stuff back because the president should not be able to do what Trump is doing. And for the record, I agree with that. The president is, whether or not you like the result, the president is using powers he should not have. It's not about Trump. I would say it if it were a Democrat. I would say it no matter which political party was doing what, where, and when. There is far, far too much delegation of political power. But the business community was going to spend millions of dollars on that. Now that there's a deal, they're going to go back to lobbying on behalf of getting Democrats to pass USMCA in the House. We know that it'll pass in the Senate. And we'll see what Nancy Pelosi will do, but my point is that the business community is real upset. And now they're worried that President Trump is just really kind of loose cannon here. So let me get back now to this game of chicken. Mexico is driving a small sedan. U.S. is driving a monster truck with nitro fuel. Why do they both have to swerve? The damage to the Mexican economy if suddenly America stops buying their stuff would be enormous. Now, the damage to the American economy would be enormous, too, because a very large percentage of stuff coming from Mexico are key parts of the supply chain, stuff that we bring in so that we can make things in America. And then another big part is food, right? You start seeing food prices exploding in the supermarket, how do you think that's going to go over for the only politician who would be responsible for it? And that would be President Trump. So Mexico needed to swerve because it would be very harmful to their economy and potentially destabilizing. Trump needed to swerve too, and he came to realize that. The difference is Mexico would just get crushed by the giant vehicle that is the United States of America. The U.S. vehicle wouldn't get crushed, but what would happen is the ensuing fire explosion when the two cars hit would cause all that nitro fuel in the U.S. vehicle to blow up and destroy who's ever driving it, even after it crushed the Mexican vehicle. Does that follow from my bad analogy perspective? And so this was a different sort of game of chicken. And the reason I didn't talk about it a lot is this is where I thought it would end up, at least for now, right? That they had to make a deal. Now, I think a lot of folks who either love Trump or hate Trump they don't like the subtlety of the kind of argument, the kind of discussion I'm going to have now, but I think it's real important, okay? The left wing, they hate Trump. They're never going to give him credit for anything he does right or anything he accomplishes, okay? The Trump base, I'm not really going to call it the right wing because it's not exactly accurate, but the Trump base, they love Trump and they won't criticize him even when he does something that's kind of dumb. Then there are these kind of in-between situations, and this is what I really struggle with personally, where the president makes a move that has the potential to be a complete disaster and is based on an underlying completely wrong idea. The idea that putting tariffs on Mexico could, in any situation of actually having tariffs go into place, be a good idea. That would be an economic disaster for America and a political disaster for him. But it worked as a negotiating tactic. And so how do you look at that? How do I, as someone who tries to be fair and balanced, look at that and say, do I say that was a terrible idea because the underlying economic idea was literally the worst economic idea of his presidency? Or do I say it was a great idea because nothing else was really getting Mexico to do what we wanted them to do? Somewhere in between. How do you judge that? Is it a situation that on average it's fine, like the guy whose head is in the oven and his feet are in the freezer, so on average he's fine? I don't know what to do. I really don't. I don't know. I will say that I've heard a few people talking about this in the media, describing it as, and we've actually seen some real life stories like this that mostly had very tragic results, where literally a firefighter or somebody who wanted to be seen as a hero, but at least once or twice it's been an actual firefighter, went out and started a fire and then went to put the fire out, and eventually they're caught. There have been a couple of those cases, and there was one where it was a female firefighter, and I'm blanking on the details, but the fire that she caused ended up getting wildly out of control and causing an immense amount of damage, and she ended up going to jail because she couldn't put the fire out. And I think this is the game that Trump is playing, right? Trump is trying to be the arsonist and the fireman, and this time he got away with it. My issue is, was it the Hayman fire? That was okay. That was intentionally set by a female firefighter, park ranger, who wanted to be a hero. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, producer Mike. Appreciate that. And so here's the key, though. President Trump only plays one game. He only plays chicken, and now everybody knows that. And if you are a foreign country about to get into a negotiation with someone, and that someone has become predictable, which I think President Trump has, it's going to change your strategery. It's going to change how you handle that. And I do think that poses a little bit of risk for Trump, who has long said that he wants to be unpredictable. He's becoming predictable. And I don't mean that really as a critique of him as much as to say he's going to has to find a way to be a little less predictable to win in future negotiations. We'll be back.
Sponsored by Farmers Insurance.
We are farmers. Oh, I didn't type it up. Finn.
Okay.
Tech Center's head up into downtown. That's looking a little better. There was an accident up near Downing. That crash is gone, and all lanes have opened up. Construction running late this morning. I-70 ramps to Steel Vasquez. Those ramps shut down. That's backing up I-70. And construction on westbound 6th Avenue out near Federal. That's blocking up the right lane. Also got a crash working eastbound 76 past 104. Denver's forecast, sunny today, high near 78. Clear skies tonight, low of 50 degrees. Sunny but windy. Tomorrow, upper 70s. Right now, 57. With traffic and weather, I'm Susan Thielen, 630 KHOW.
At Farmers Insurance, we know the sound of a perfect hot air balloon landing. And a less than perfect one. Seen it, covered it. Dr.
Okay, Eric got...
Oh, hang on. 508 Amfin, you are up.
Exchanges and affiliates. Products not available in every state.
So with a 10-year note rate around 2.14%, mortgage rates, you're talking probably low fours for people with, excellent credit, very good credit. Mortgage rates around the low fours. I mean, this is just such cheap money. Don't forget, an interest rate is really just the price of money. People, I think, don't focus on that enough, right? You might walk into a store and say, what's the price of that banana, right? The banana I'm about to eat if you're watching us right now on YouTube. Interest rate's just the price of money. And right now, money's really cheap. Now, normally, money is not this cheap in an economy this good, with unemployment this low, for example. And to me, that represents a tremendous opportunity, and that is call American Financing, talk to a salary-based mortgage consultant, get a sense of how much home you can afford right now, whether you're buying your first home or an investment property or anything else. Let them help you. 303-695-7000 or AmericanFinancing.net.
Down.
2334.
So do I have another one?
Yeah, RMMC.
in 2 or 3 minutes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I gotta go find a trash can. I'll be right back.
Okay, I got Adobe working, so we're good to record.
Leopard, French Montana, Halsey, Hart, Her, Miley Cyrus, Mumford and Sons, Tim McGraw, Zach Brown Band.
And will you try it a few times during the show?
Yep, I'm rolling on it right now just to test it out. It's a little bit low, but I don't want to bump it up too much to mess up the stream audio.
No, I'd rather go in low and then normalize.
Exactly, yeah. And I can bump it up a little bit more when we're actually doing the interviews, and I don't have to worry about the stream audio.
Because it's every season, 24/7, 360.
Well, I'll play them from here if you can email them. Is that how you want to do it?
Yeah, I'll do that. I can.
It's easier than you having to feed the laptop into the thing.
Exactly, yeah. So I'll just record them and email them back.
Yeah.
But if you want to record them from there, if you can stay for the first few just to make sure, so we got 2 copies of it.
Love to.
And then the one this afternoon, I'll roll on that myself here.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
You know, I have the access with me. You could always dial into. I could come up with a IP address for you to dial into, and I could record it at home.
Yeah, we could do that. You know,
I wouldn't mind.
Okay. All right.
I might as well stay involved in the audio process so I know what it sounded like and not have to.
Yeah.
Actively.
Good point. Yeah, so the first 3 are going to be right after the show, back to back to back.
Okay.
Then the one this afternoon, I'm not sure when it's at. We'll find out.
Just text me. Stay in touch.
I will.
The Fresh Start program to help you solve your
Yeah, because you can dial point to point with those things. Why not?
Oh, yeah.
Saves you thousands. Nobody knows this.
And what is your audio setting? What?
On the access?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Let me take a look. Is that going to be under configure?
Yeah, the far right.
Yeah, audio controls or
audio
system settings.
No, it's manage profiles.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
It might be Opus, but can you tell which one has an asterisk next to it?
An Opus Mono.
Huh, okay.
Yep.
That's good enough, man.
Yeah.
ED.
All right. Perfect,
Cool.
thank you.
Okay.
A minute away to his RMMC.
Issue to restore function.
Okay, 1 minute
and
away
create a
to
new, healthier
RMMC.
path for blood to flow, addressing the cause and not just the symptoms of ED. Evolution Medical.
Oh, dude.
What?
There's an ED spot playing right now.
Don't worry about it.
How about a Littleton? Can you do a Littleton?
Yeah, I can do whatever you tell me to do.
Well, if all your friends are jumping off the bridge with you. All right, so Littleton in
5-5
in 30-ish.
That's evolutionmedicalgroup.com.
Who do you call when your air conditioner breaks? I'm consumer advocate Mark Major, and I call PriceFixerDenver.com. They never charge a trip or diagnostic fee. That's a free estimate on any air conditioner repair. They can even give you a quote over the phone. They never pay their technicians on commission. Their goal's to fix the problem, not try to upsell you. If you love
Words 10 away.
current pricing, great service, and the best guarantees, check out PriceFixerDenver.com. That's Price.
You are up.
.com.
You know, there's nowhere better to go in the Denver metro area if you need what I sort of jokingly call the hardware for a wedding. You need wedding bands. You need an engagement ring. You need gifts, especially for bridesmaids. Littleton Jewelry has absolutely all of that for you. And look, depending on your budget, maybe you want to spend, $100 on a gift or let's say the engagement ring. Maybe you want to spend $3,000. Maybe you want to spend $30,000. Anything. Littleton Jewelry will do it for you. They'll get it for you. They'll make it for you. Whatever it is you need. Family-owned business, the nicest people. They're probably listening to the show right now, so I really hope that you will support them because they're part of the reason that we're able to do our morning show and speak with each other each morning. I want you to learn more at littletonfinejewelry.com, littletonfinejewelry.com.
Awesome. You're down.
Fox News, I'm Lillian Wu. He helped bring down Richard Nixon, now the star Watergate accuser, set to be the first witness in House Democrats' so-called presidential obstruction hearings. And the Trump administration
Hey, Shannon.
is taking it.
Yes, sir.
Molly Block, who is David Bernhardt's assistant or press secretary, she wanted to know if she could get a copy of the interview, the audio. I'm going to text you her email address.
And she wanted a copy of like
The
the
just
audio. Right?
the audio, yeah.
Hey,
Whenever
know
you have
what?
time.
Is it possible to de-um him a little bit, or is there just too
dude,
many ums?
I've been going for the last hour.
Have you really?
Yeah.
Okay. When you're done, and we'll probably replay him at 9:05.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
You
then
know what? Listen. I'm gonna send her the full version.
After
no, send her the de-ummed version.
No, I can't. What? Listen.
Why?
You gotta learn how to.
Because if he hears how many ums, he maybe
so
he'll stop.
she and I already talked about it.
Oh, okay.
So I already told her too many ums and his answers were too long.
Okay.
His content was good.
But I'll do it for a state parks annual pass. I think he has some yank there.
Okay.
When generic insurance takes hold, one handsome man and one flightless bird are teaming up to save the world. Money. Their message? Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need. Their mission? Savings. Their relationship? Best friends. Say hello to Liberty Mutual's new spokes team. And Doug.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Equal housing insurer. State laws apply.
For your back, neck, and joint pain, visit spine1.com for a same-day appointment now. That's spine1.com.
This forecast from the Denver Trial Lawyers Weather Center.
Sunny and warmer today with the
And
high
then there
in
was
the
this
upper
there's
70s.
state patrol all
Mostly
over the
clear
place
tonight with
and
the low in the
bomb
low
sniffing
50s.
dog.
Mostly sunny again tomorrow.
Who
with the
came
high
in here?
back in
They
the
brought the
upper
dog in here.
70s.
This
Yeah, I
report
get
is
it.
sponsored by the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. The Denver Museum of Nature and Science presents its newest exhibition, Our Senses, Creating Your Reality. Enjoy some sensory overload, playing
So
with
you said no
patterns,
word from
sound,
Jess yet?
sense, and touch to discover that there's so much more to our senses than just the usual 5. Visit dmns.org.
Now, the Ross Report on Denver's talk station, 630 KHOW.
Until a few days ago, 70-year-old real estate tycoon and attorney Hugh Culverhouse Jr. was the largest donor in the history of the University of Alabama. His name was on the law school there, just as his father's name is on the business school. His dad used to own the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. On Friday, the University of Alabama's trustees voted to return a $26.5 million donation from Mr. Culverhouse after he called on students to boycott the school due to the state's passing the nation's most aggressive anti-abortion law. This even though the law will likely be found unconstitutional almost immediately and therefore never enforced. Culverhouse said, quote, "I cannot stand by silently and allow my name to be associated with a state educational system that teaches students law that clearly conflicts with the United States Constitution and federal law and which promotes blatant discrimination," end quote. I don't think I've seen a public university take a strong conservative stand on an issue, at least not lately, although I think that Culverhouse's description of the law is mostly correct. The weirdest thing to me, though, is that while his dad went to Bama, he didn't. He went to Florida. So I bet you that there are some University of Florida trustees trying to round up a huge donation right about now. And that's today's Ross Report, brought to you by L&L Heating and Air Conditioning, who are very proud to offer the Armstrong Air line of furnaces and air conditioners. Armstrong Air is the professional's choice, and right now L&L offers you a 16-SEER Armstrong Air Energy Star rated air conditioner for the price of a 13-SEER unit. It is a great deal as we head into the summer cooling season. Learn more at bestdenverhvac.com.
Tom Martino.
Good?
10 on
Give me a second with music.
KHOW.
You're up.
Thank you, DJ Shannon. Yes, I do find that a little odd that guy gave $26.5 million to a college that he didn't go to. I mean, I get that his dad went there, but I mean, I guess I should be a little more intellectually consistent about it in a way, because I went to Columbia University, and years ago, Columbia got in touch with me and asked me if I would give them some money, and I got back to him and I said, I'll give you a little money on 2 conditions. Number 1, the money goes to the football team, and number 2, you never call me again. And they agreed, and they did it. I only gave them $1,000, right? But that was the deal. And I realize money is fungible, so even if they take my $1,000 and give it to the football team, it'll be some other $1,000 that they don't give to the football team. I get all that, but that was the deal, because, the thing with going to a school like Columbia, I mean, you learn a lot, but the main thing is then you've got this, like fancy schmancy college name on the wall, right? I went to an Ivy League school, and then people think this, that, or the other about you, or it's good for networking and stuff like that. But, man, I was just so tired of the just insane liberalism. It's even worse now, but it was bad then. I mean, I ran for office, some little goofy student government thing. I think it was, believe it or not, I think it was called the liaison officer. And it was something like, you know, the interface between certain student groups and university trustees. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. And I put up these little posters around the school, just 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper that I had, you know, Xeroxed with whatever my message was on them. And people would just write on them fascist and village idiot. And some of you probably still think I'm at least village idiot. I doubt too many of you think I'm fascist. But it was a weird thing. And so, I don't know. So since then, the only college I've ever given money to, and I think I've given every year for the last 15 years, at least a little bit of money, has been Hillsdale, right? And I know one or two people now. I know one or two people who went to Hillsdale. When I first started giving, I didn't know anyone who went to Hillsdale, but I just love that they don't take any federal money, including they don't let their students take federal student loans. And if a student needs that kind of help, financial help, they find them a way to get them financial help some other way. And that way, Hillsdale can be at least a little bit out from under the thumb of federal regulation. I love that. Absolutely love it. If I had millions of dollars to give away, I actually doubt I would give it to any college. I think I would I don't know what I would do. That'd be a good topic for another day. You know, if you had $1 million to give to a charity, which charity? Well, let's brainstorm then. We'll come back to it maybe later in the week. I want to share a story with you that there was a little bit of hubbub about this, especially in the Washington, D.C. area, but it made some national news. Oh, this is probably a couple months ago now, and it's kind of blowing up again. So there's a woman named Natasha Tynes, and she is a Jordanian-American author. So a while back, I'm trying to remember exactly when this was. I want to say a month ago. A month ago. A month ago today, exactly, May 10th. So she sent out a tweet. She was riding on the metro in D.C., and she works for the World Bank in addition to being an author. She sent out a tweet showing, and I'm going to quote from the Washington Post here, a black female metro worker who was breaking the D.C. Region Transportation Agency's rules by eating breakfast on a train. Now, when you go on the metro in D.C., everybody knows the rules. Don't eat, don't drink, don't play loud music, whatever, and the signs are everywhere. And you just know that. Those are the rules. And so she sent out a tweet saying, and I'm quoting now, when you're on your morning commute and see... And then she tagged the WMATA, right? So that's the government organization that runs the trains there. When you see a WMATA employee in uniform eating on the train, I thought we were not allowed to eat on the train. This is unacceptable. Hope WMATA responds. By 10 a.m., so that was less than half an hour after the original tweet, she had deleted the post and apologized for the, quote, short-lived expression of frustration, according to court documents. Now, why is this in court? So first of all, after she sent out that tweet, the public went absolutely crazy. And they said that what she did was racist and basically body-shaming an African-American woman, and African-American women already face too much of that. And it's just nuts, right? There's a lawsuit now. Okay, so next step. So there's this huge blow-up, and they're calling her a racist and calling her other stuff. And I do want to say there's a certain aspect of sending out that tweet. It's like, can't you just kind of mind your own darn business? Like, did you really need to get on the train and send out a tweet that somebody was eating on the train? And I get it's an employee, and I get it seems hypocritical and all that, but, like, really? That's what you needed to spend your time doing? So there's this huge blow up against her. And then, because everyone is so afraid of everything these days, and everyone is so afraid of being called racist or anything like that, so she has a new book coming out, this woman does. And the book publisher canceled the book release. And so now this woman is suing her publisher for $13 million. $13 million. Unbelievable. So, and I would also point out, the woman who sent the tweet about the employee eating on the train actually got in touch with the agency that runs the train to actually ask that the employee would not be disciplined, and for the record, the employee wasn't disciplined. And her publishing company said, don't worry, you'll get through this, we've got your back. And then just a few hours later, the publishing company described her tweet as the policing of a black woman's body and called it something truly horrible. And then they said, we're not going to distribute her book. They canceled the book, and they canceled everything. So now the author is suing the publisher, saying that she, quote, did not police a black woman's body, did not engage in any act of racism, and took no action that could possibly have jeopardized anybody's safety except perhaps her own. And the reason I wanted to bring you this story was that it just says so much about this society we live in now, and like none of it's good. Like, did she need to go on the train and waste everybody's time tweeting about that she saw somebody eating on the train? Was that and calling for the organization that runs the trains to discipline her, originally at least? I mean, if anybody did anything sort of kind of almost close to right, I guess that would be okay. If the rules are don't eat on a train, you probably shouldn't do it, especially when you're in the uniform of that group. But then this insane, over-the-top reaction, saying that it was racist, canceling her book contract, and all of this stuff. It's just our society is so hypersensitive. It is completely out of control. And frankly, I don't know what's going to make it any better. I really don't. At some point, you just realize that sometimes in the United States and other places, things have to get very, very bad, before they can get good again. All right, when we come back, speaking of that and speaking of kind of pushback, I want to come back to a story that I think's fascinating and about time, where a liberal college finally getting punished in a serious way for their outrageous, over-the-top political correctness, but it's political correctness that was really harmful. I'll tell you the story right after this.
It's the Nick Caplish
RMMC.
Hey, Monday at 4, a not-so-manic Monday. We'll talk about whether President Trump's threat to hit Mexico with tariffs was brilliant and whether it will end up saving lives on both sides of the border and what should be done to fix I-20.
Here you go, 5 away, you are up, RMMC.
You do, tell me at 4.
Normally when we talk about Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic, sexual performance issues and stuff like that, and for guys who are dealing with those issues, it's a really, really big problem. But for a larger percentage of men, there's a more common issue, and that is simply low testosterone in your bloodstream. When you get to be, let's say 50 years old, in your 50s, you got about a 50% chance that your body isn't generating enough testosterone. And look, that might show up as a problem in the bedroom, but it might not. You might be fine in the bedroom, but low on energy, not focusing well, right? Not recovering so well after working out at the gym, maybe more sleep apnea than you used to have. If you feel like especially more than one of these things is showing up for you, I want you to talk to Rocky Mountain Men's Clinic. They'll do a real simple, easy blood test, have an answer in 1 or 2 days. And if you need testosterone replacement therapy, they can help you with that. If you don't need it, they'll say, no, you're good. You're in the normal range. Come check with us again in a few years. That's what they said to me. So I hope you will learn more at RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com. And remember, they can see you in Denver or the Springs or Castle Rock or now up north in Thornton, RockyMountainMen'sClinic.com.
Consumers Real Estate Show. That's right, a real estate show for consumer.
Neograph coming up in a couple minutes.
The consumer.
Oh, and
Here on Talk Radio 630.
Kurt wants to talk about understanding demographics.
Tune in Wednesday mornings at 7:05 for News You Can Use, featuring Phil Harding, named one of the top 100 trial lawyers in Colorado 10 years in a row. Submit your legal questions, ideas, and comments to Phil at khow.com/legal. News You Can Use, Wednesdays at 7:05.
Hi, this is Courtney Pierce, president of Buy and Build. We are closing our 4800 Washington Street location and opening the all-new Buy and Build kitchen and bath at our new location, 560 South Lipan Street, Denver, just south of Alameda on Lipan. Look for the giant orange and blue building. We will still have Denver's best deals on kitchen and bathroom cabinets, granite too, but now we offer installation as well. Now we can help you design and install your new cabinets.
Hey, when's my next thing, man?
Countertops, all for much less than our competition.
Minute and a half-ish Broadway.
Okay.
At buyandbuild.com.
Shannon,
What if you had your
this
own
is your father.
to help you find a better job
Sounds like maybe John?
that likes your profile?
No,
But they
Shannon.
pay you more.
This
Well,
is your
as a personal
father.
recruiter, that's what
Wow.
But now, ZipRecruiter's technology.
Do you know who that
can do
is?
that
This
for
is
you.
not Mike Wolf either.
Just download the free ZipRecruiter.
I was thinking it'd be Bags. Not John Bags? No.
No,
Technology does the
not
work.
Bags.
It
Not Jessica Farias?
No, although she's sitting right in
and
front of
put
me
your
now.
profile in front of him
Okay, who do I have?
for someone just like you.
Your father.
The company likes your profile.
Well, in that you know I don't speak to my father.
You can apply.
I didn't know that.
One year
I'm your
Zipper-
uncle then.
Oh, I do. I like him. I miss him a lot. But just because he lives in Michigan. Hi, Uncle Buck. I actually have an Uncle Buck.
I can't believe you can't guess who this is.
Just here's a hint. All the time you text me with any nonsensical bullshit.
Thank you, YouTube viewers.
Uh-huh. Yeah, everything we're saying right now is going out over YouTube, by the way, even when we're off the air.
I usually text Brockler a bunch of crazy crap. Is that who it is?
Nope, it's not.
And so I went out.
It's an iHeart employee, I will tell you that much. I'm not saying anything more.
Tim Spence?
One, including myself, thought.
Shannon.
A lot of crazy crap. 10 away, Neograph.
October 2016. Make the switch.
Bob Murphy?
UL.com.
5 away, you're up, you're up.
Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
All right, so, if you're watching us on the YouTube live stream today, you will see, and look, I know this is going to sound really vain, but if you had seen me on a YouTube live stream a year ago versus today, you would say Ross looks younger. And you know why you'd say that? Because my hair looks a lot better. Because I had the Neograph hair restoration procedure from Dr. Broadway, and they moved 2,500 follicles, not kidding, one at a time from the back of my head to the front and top of my head. So, but no scars, no knives or scalpels, no sutures, no staples, minimal downtime. People ask me, did it hurt? Tiny bit. I took a pain pill only that night to get to sleep, and nothing after that. It was pretty darn easy, and I'm really happy with the results, but you can see them for yourself if you watch us on YouTube right now. I want you to learn more and find out whether you're a candidate, and also the great deal that I arranged for my listeners so that if you get this done, it'll be cheaper for you than it was for me. Learn more at denverhairrestoration.com.
Ask Alexa 630 KHOW on iHeartRadio. Then you can
Hi,
hear
Shannon.
the conservative right, Sean Hannity, this afternoon at 1.
Getting KHOW from iHeartRadio.
If
I
Denver's
like
talking
you.
about it, you'll hear it on 630 KHOW.
Trade offers securities through Cambridge Investment Research, Inc. Member FINRA SIPC. And advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, Inc.
Here you go, you're up.
Advisor. Cambridge and Centennial Capital Partners are not affiliated.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'm Ross. Thanks for being here. I am broadcasting live from Vail, Colorado, from the Western Governors Association annual meeting. And an hour ago, when normally we would talk with Kurt Cambier, I had the Secretary of the Interior join me for a few minutes. You'll hear him actually coming up about 15 minutes from now as well. But I'm grateful to our friend and morning show partner, Kurt Cambier from Centennial Capital Partners, for being willing to join us at an hour later than usual in order to make room for the Secretary of the Interior. Not that you're any less important than he is, Kurt.
Well, he has a bigger job, perhaps. A bigger title, anyway. What do they call that? Back in the old days, used to old Texas statement that said "big hat, no cattle." I don't know.
All hat and no cattle.
But a lot of times, that was worthy being bumped, and I did hear it. I thought it was a great interview.
Yeah, that guy actually is hat and cattle. He's a real deal.
No, I know he is. Yeah.
Just like you are, I might say. So what's on your mind today? You've had a weekend of gardening to think about things. What are you thinking about today?
Gardening and hiking. And when you go out hiking, I did 10 miles on Saturday, 10 miles on Sunday, 6 miles on Friday, and 6 miles this morning. So I'm well hiked. Yeah, can you believe it? I'm trying to become half the man I used to be. But the issue today really is demographics. And as I was getting up early in the morning, I was watching a little bit of the financial programs, and they pointed out something that I already knew, but it brought it back into the mind for me that demographics is what is in favor of the United States compared to the rest of the competitive world. Certainly Europe and even China. The fact that we have a very large millennial population that overwhelms our baby booming population. The population behind that is fairly significant as well.
Mm-hmm.
The one day that comes, we're going to have a very viable workforce compared to those who are retiring like the baby boomers.
Yeah, that's a great point. I remember, and I'm sure you remember, not that many years ago, a lot of people were expressing enormous fear for the stock market regarding when baby boomers would start retiring and having to cash out of their stock investments, and people said the market would crash. It was like they forgot that the millennial generation is the largest generation in American history. It's larger than the baby boomers. So as the baby boomers are retiring, we've got all these millennials going into the workforce. So it's a huge thing. And then you look at immigration into the United States, and just putting aside politics of that, we do have immigration, whereas a lot of other places, Japan, China, some other, nobody's moving there. And, I heard someone say, and I really like this line, Kurt, about China. China will get old before they get rich because they don't have immigration, and they had that policy of dramatically limiting the number of kids.
Yeah, by 2030, China will have problems, and they're going to get surpassed by India, who has a very large demographic population, largely undeveloped at this point yet. And then the United States, we've it's going to fix a lot of our social systems as well, as far as Social Security and those types of things, because there'll be a bigger taxable base to be able to go through a older retirement base. So, as I put in my book that I wrote a few years ago, The Future is Brighter Than You Think, I actually have a chapter dedicated to demographics.
So, real quick, how does that fit into the kind of conversation you'd have with a client?
Well, what happened in the 1980s is when the baby boomers started to turn 35. When you turn 35, you start investing more, you start buying more houses, you start making more money. The first baby boomer, depending upon when you look at when they started, the baby boomer generation, the millennial generation, actually turned 35 this year.
Wow.
And last year, 42% of all new home purchases were by millennials.
Mm-hmm.
And that is just increasing. So they're going to have a huge impact. And we may repeat the 1980s into the 1990s all over again.
All right, well, let's not repeat October 31st, 1987, where I lost my entire net worth and $100,000 more in one day. It was not a market crash. We'll tell that story another day. Listen, folks, you want to sit down with a guy who's been watching markets since the 80s, as I have, and helping people be in the best possible financial position for retirement. That's Kurt Cambier. I want you to get in touch with Kurt. Easiest way is probably through the website, kurtcambier.com, KURTCAMBIER.com, or the phone number, Kurt.
303-584-1161. Give me a call. I'd love to share information with you.
All right. Hey, thanks, Kurt. We'll talk with you tomorrow.
You got it. Bye.
All right. Tell you what, folks, I got about a minute here, and then we're going to come back with my conversation with the Secretary of the Interior. Let me see if I can do this in a minute. It's a really interesting story, and you can go Google it yourself. If you just do a Google search for Oberlin, Oberlin, like the college, and then bakery, and you'll find the story. Here's the short version. A few kids, African-American boys from Oberlin College, shoplifted from a bakery, claimed at first that it was racial profiling. A university employee got involved in boycotting the bakery and claiming that the bakery, which has been in that town since the 1800s, was racially profiling. Long story short, a court just ruled that the bakery is owed from the university $11 million, basically for slander and libel. It's an amazing story. We'll be right back with the Secretary of the Interior.
Still working on the edit, but I'll get it to you. I'll play it all. It's fine.
What spots do we have in this break?
That no lives.
Not even at 06?
Let's see. Hold, please.
Let's continue.
What am I doing here? Hang on. Scrolling. India's
5. There's a stall. It's in
At 06?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Past Hamden. Stopping on 20.
Shannon.
Mike, you know what you could do? You could probably stop the YouTube now since we're going into.
Mike's not here.
Direction, construction backing up westbound 6th Avenue.
Mike's not here.
In the right left.
That makes sense, actually.
Ramps to Steel Vasquez.
I would be gone too.
I'm still going to run it because I don't know how to set it back up if Mike's not back.
50 degrees. Upper 70.
Just pull the plug, like a.
We could probably bail on the live streaming for the rest of the show. We've done it for 3 hours.
It's been.
I don't think we
One
need to
exception
just
being
bail
an
on the show
airborne
because it's
car.
9 o'clock.
Seen it, covered it. Talk to farmers.
No, but if we're going to do a replay of what's his name.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance.
So if we're in OBS, Shannon, what do we do?
Just pause it.
There is a stop streaming on the lower right corner of the screen.
This is the actual YouTube page. So
go back to OBS. You can hit stop streaming, and that's probably the best way to do it.
my guest, who is your father, will try to find the OBS and.
And deep cleaning anywhere. FixMyHome.com. That's FixMyHome.com.
When your house is in trouble, fix it 24/7. We'll be there on the double.
You get up first thing, smoke a cigarette. Before lunch, after lunch. Now that I'm talking about it, I'm kind of feeling like I've lost about 4 hours of every day. I decided I needed to find an alternative. So I started looking, and then Jewel came up. I did both for a while. Eventually, I just switched over, and it's very quick.
Mimi made the switch July 2015. Make the switch at JUUL.com. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Do you hear that? No? It's the sound of your car just sitting there, costing you money, like your 25-year-old who won't move out. But why, though? These days, people are giving strangers the keys to their homes, rides in their cars, even the keys to their cars. Everyone's sharing their stuff, and it's paying off big time. Now's the time to discover Turo, the car-sharing marketplace where car owners can share their cars to help pay for them. Many car owners earn thousands of dollars a month simply by sharing their cars on Turo. Each Turo trip is backed by $1 million in liability insurance from Liberty Mutual.
Shannon.
And all drivers.
Yeah.
We're just going to leave it. I'm not going to mess with it.
We know where they
well, can you get to the OBS?
I can't get back to the OBS. I'm not going to screw it up because Wolf ain't here. So.
No, it's okay to screw it up. I'd rather have it stop.
Why?
So the goal is ultimately really screwing it up.
Why do you want it to stop, though?
Well, yeah, because if you can get back to the OBS, there is a stop streaming in the lower right-hand corner.
But why do you want it to stop? I don't understand.
Because we're done. Ross is going to be walking around. He's going to come back and introduce this recorded segment. And I'd like the ability to download that video from my end so I can share it on the blog post.
Okay, so that's fine. So if I just close out the live stream, does that end it?
Yeah, hell, if you stop the computer, if you turn off the computer, it'd be fine.
All right, so then I'm just going to stop the live stream.
Yeah.
Okay, I just stopped the live stream.
I'll see if it stops on my end. It should stop with me looking at Ross's belly.
You're ready for your lifetime of hard work to start working.
I'm a minute or so delayed, so I'll let you know in a sec.
You.
Thank you for your help with that.
Hey.
And sorry about the crazy text about the 7 a.m. I didn't know he'd changed the clock.
I'm not worried about that. I was just giving you grief.
I hope I didn't wake you up, man.
No, it's all good.
Financial.
It's all good. I'd rather you be on the ball like that than I didn't know. Yeah. Trust me, I've heard those comments before from other people.
Well, and I still get in trouble for not telling folks stuff, but it's like
No, I
can't keep
trust
up
me.
with all this stuff that's
Trust me,
you know that.
How many times have you woken me up and I've said no problem?
To settle. Wake up with a new.
I think it'd been every time.
Plenty of times.
Right? Yeah.
So don't worry about it.
Ascar brew all ready to go with the.
Well, I'm still seeing Ross standing there.
Should be.
If Mexico doesn't follow through, the threat of tariffs is back on. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what President Trump tweeted. But his counselor, Kellyanne Conway, told Fox.
There's something very different in the way the
Heck, I might be able to stop it from my end since I can log.
Negotiation and agreement that feels and looks differently than the past.
It will have Mexico doing more to help stop the flow of Central American migrants coming here. Mexico's foreign minister says if the number comes down, it'll show the effort is working. Democratic critics think the deal's overblown, won't do much to stem the surge they blame the president's own policies for creating. Now, President Trump's also threatening new tariffs on China if that country's leader, Xi Jinping, skips the G20 Summit of Nations later this month in Japan, telling CNBC's Squawk Box.
He's for China, I'm for the U.S., so we're going to have our differences, but I think the differences can be worked out very easily. I would be surprised if he didn't go. I think he's going. I haven't heard that he's not. We're expected to meet.
Nevada governor just walked by. Nevada governor just walked by.
Into the Mueller report and possible obstruction of justice. Ex-Nixon counsel John Dean will testify and make Watergate comparisons, but Republicans say this is looking more like a lead-off impeachment inquiry than actual congressional oversight. A former Boston Red Sox all-star is in recovery. Morning after David Ortiz was shot in the Dominican Republic. Fox's Evan Brown has more live.
And Dave, police don't know why, but somebody snuck up behind David Ortiz as he sat in a Santo Domingo bar and shot him in the lower back. Doctors took him into surgery, and Ortiz is now stable and recovering. Ortiz is a Dominican native and is 43 years old. He spent most of his 20 seasons of Major League Baseball playing for the Boston Red Sox. The gunman was immediately grabbed by other bar patrons who proceeded to beat him. He's now in police custody.
Evan, on Wall Street, a big surge. The Dow's up 175 points. This is Fox News.
And now, the worst commercial ever.
I'm Jake. And I'm Jack. We're the Plow Guys. How do we keep your driveways clean? With commercial auto and business insurance through Progressive. They help with a customized insurance plan that keeps our business on the road. And that's news worth shouting out loud simultaneously.
Enthusiastic yelling at the same time.
Yeah!
Terrible. Whereas commercial auto and business insurance through Progressive is anything but. Visit progressivecommercial.com to quote today. Insurance provided and serviced by Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. It's affiliated in third-party insurers.
Building relationships during recovery from mental and substance use disorders can put the strength of family and community behind you. We're all connected, offering encouragement, support, and hope. Join the Voices for Recovery. Strengthen families and communities.
For confidential information on mental and substance use disorders, including prevention and treatment referrals for you or someone you know, call 1-800-662-HELP. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
KHOW News Time, 9:03.
Weld County deputies arrest a 53-year-old man on suspicion of 2 counts of first-degree murder.
Deputies found 2 bodies at a home in rural Weld County near the town of Erie. They arrested William Roberts. He's being held in the Weld County Jail. So far, the identities of the victims have not been released.
That's reporter Chad Hoffman. Colorado Department of Transportation is getting ready to shift traffic on I-25. That'll involve some lane closures in Castle Rock tonight and tomorrow. CDOT says the Wolfensberger Road on-ramp to southbound I-25 and the southbound on-ramp to Plum Creek Parkway will be closed tonight at 8 and should reopen at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. Tomorrow night, all southbound traffic will exit at Plum Creek Parkway and then re-enter the interstate using the Plum Creek on-ramp. Drivers will be using the shoulder for about a mile after getting back on the highway while crews restrike the road. In sports, Rockies lost 2 out of 3 in their last 2 series on the road, so it'll be good to get back home tonight. The Rockies host the Cubs tonight at Coors Field. That's the latest. I'm Pat Woodard.
Hey, my friend's retail store was the victim of IoT password theft.
Yep. Cyber criminals are taking over security cameras, payment systems, and other IoT devices by exploiting vulnerabilities.
Hey, Shannon.
What if they target
network? Do we need any introduction from me, or just going to go right into it, or what?
No, would you please do something?
Yeah.
Secretary of Interior does this, does that. David, you have to say his name, David. And then it starts with his answer to "You're from Colorado." That was the only easy way for me to do that for this, okay?
Yeah.
Save the world.
And I'm going to attempt to make it exactly 15 minutes.
The relationship?
And you have an India's in 40.
And Doug.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Equal housing insurer. State laws apply.
If you've been hurt,
30 away Indias.
It's you first. That's Bell and Pollock. Hi, it's Mandy, and after getting to know these guys, I'm confident that you and your case will be taken care of and treated the right way by Bell and Pollock. They've been helping injured Colorado families for over 30 years, and They're just really nice guys. Get the right representation you can feel good about with Bell & Pollock. Call them at 30
5-Away India's You Are Up.
That's 795-5900 or visit championsofthepeople.com.
All right, so almost anyone who's ever been out to dinner with me will tell you I'm kind of a food snob. And I love good food. So let me just talk very briefly about Indian food, okay? I love Indian food. I've loved it since I was a kid, since my parents first took me to an Indian restaurant. But I've been to India 3 times. And so I kind of know what I'm talking about. And I got to tell you that India's restaurant, which is on the north side of Hampton, just east of Yosemite, 8921 East Hampton, is the best Indian food I've had in the United States of America and equal with the best food I've had in India. It's remarkable. The owner, a gentleman named Chris, was a pilot in the Indian military. And I tell you, I hope you will stop by and try it out, whether the lunch buffet or the fantastic dinners. You can learn more at indiasrestaurant.com. That's indiasrestaurant.com. And when you go ask for Chris and say hi. I think you'll enjoy meeting him.
Your shot at it.
All righty. So, yeah, it starts with that. It's exactly 15 minutes long if you want to start a timer.
Confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide
And I don't suppose Mike is back.
To 200
No.
200.
This is the Ross Kaminsky
You can
Show.
text him.
Now,
Yep, I did too. All right, you're up.
Denver's talk station, 630 KHOW.
Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. Thanks for being with me. I'm Ross. Thanks for starting your day and your week with me. I am broadcasting live from the Western Governors Association annual meeting. We're at a hotel in Vail that is absolutely full of security. I just had a chat with the guy who's going around with the bomb-sniffing dog, which was pretty cool. He actually listens to the show frequently. I won't say anything more about that. It was a pretty neat little conversation, and boy, there's just so much security around, and those dudes with the little things in their ears. And anyway, it's great to be here. And on tomorrow's show, you are going to hear a bunch of governors, including Jared Polis, but you're going to hear other governors from around the western United States. And at this point, we are hoping to get governors from at least North Dakota, Hawaii, and Kansas. So we're going to have Republicans and Democrats. It's going to be really cool. Right now, something quite different, though. I am very pleased to be joined by the Secretary of Interior of the United States of America. How fantastic is that? David Barnhart, a very experienced guy, the right guy for this job. We'll talk more about that in a minute. But the other cool thing about David is that he's actually a native of Colorado. Is that right?
I am. I actually grew up in Wright.
Wow, down.
A few miles west of here.
Good, huh? So is it awesome to be home?
Yeah.
All right, I'm taking off my headset for a bit, okay?
I'll give you $1 to unplug that computer and stop the stream.
This year.
Is the stream still going?
Yes, sir.
With all the wonderful snow and, everything we do.
Beat it with a stick.
So it's fantastic to see.
Spence said he thought the stream was off, but apparently it's not.
Yeah, Grant and I are laughing at that one.
I used to live out there. I'm sure you know better than most.
My favorite part about Tim, and I want this to go out on YouTube, he says, well, I don't want to mess it up. I said, dude, ultimately I want it messed up. Stop the stream.
Oh, it's not touchscreen.
Good year.
All right.
We're fortunate for that. And we have.
All right, Spence is on the computer.
Yeah, I love you.
Aspect of your job as Secretary of Interior is dealing with federal lands. And obviously here at Western Governors Association, the governors who are part of this organization would represent the vast majority of federal lands in the United States. And
why do you
why
do you think it's still
before we
on?
get to the topic more directly, I just
no idea. I mean, maybe closing the OBS.
I closed it all. It's on the home screen.
Secretary in your issue, maybe of any.
There is nothing from the YouTube stream.
I mean, I see.
What's
his
that?
Back. I saw you
Can't hear you.
by. I mean,
What's that?
Doing this for a long. We jump into some of these issues. Give my listeners 30 seconds on your background.
Well, I grew up in Rifle, Colorado, and for those listeners that don't know, Rifle is a small town completely surrounded by federal lands. And on those federal lands, all sorts of activities take place: hunting, fishing, rock climbing, recreating, mountain biking, but also the development of energy, natural resources, a whole host of activities. So the community that I grew up around was used to managing a multitude of projects and issues on federal lands, and also knowing the consequences of those. I grew up in Rifle during a big oil shale boom and bust, and that bust had tremendous effect on
Tim, do you mind just holding down the power button, turning off the pooter?
significant federal decisions can be to the hopes, aspirations, and dreams of
I just turned it off.
And that
Thank you, brother. I'll see if that works. Like I say, I'm about a minute delayed.
and the management of natural resources. And number two, a recognition that the federal government needs to be balanced in its interests between what the federal government wants to do, what the state wants to do, and what the locality wants to do in a particular area. And the beauty of most of the things that Interior deals with is part of our mission is to harmonize those various interests in the law. And that's great. My interest in this area was crystallized there. I worked for a member of Congress, then I was in private law practice, and then another Coloradan named Gail Norton, who was former Attorney General here in the state. She became Secretary of the Interior, and she asked me to join her.
Is it stopped on your end?
I was a young lawyer working for her, and I went there, and I promised my wife I'd work for a year.
Well, I still see him talking, but if the computer's off, I bet it'll stop, right?
All right, hang on a second.
Because the department